Yo, what is up? What is up, everybody? What is up, Victor, Random, PG, Major, Win, Royal Guppy, Cloud, Freddy? What's up? Yo, Mr. Late, it's 4 o'clock right now. I don't want to hear it. Nah, that's not late. That's on time. Yo! What's up, Freddy? How's it going? Cloud, welcome. PG, what's up? Aiden, how we doing? Welcome to the stream. GG, how we doing? Welcome. Slime, how we doing? Welcome to the stream. What's up, Harry? Welcome to the stream. How we doing? 15 minutes into 100 hours. Let's go, Aiden. Dylan, welcome back to the stream, man. Everyone get up on Fortnite right now because we're already playing some customs. Final, what's up, Phoenix? How we doing? Sarah, welcome. Random Memer, welcome to the stream. Globe, welcome. Guys, how we doing today? Let me know how your day going. Is your day going good? Is your day going bad? Let me know. What's up, Ninja? How we doing, bro? Slime, you're amazing. Thank you very much. You liked WGMaz. You guys should all be like Gmaz. I'm already on Fortnite. W. I'm getting member today. W win. Let's go, bro. Let's go. What's up, Major? Welcome to the stream. Long time no see it. Let's go, Victor. Long time no see. He's usually over on Twitch. What's up, Random Memer? I'm back. Welcome back, Major League. Welcome back. So, guys, today, what's up, Dizzy? You're Dizzy on both platforms. Let's go, Dizzy. That's a W, Dizzy. Duo platforms, we'll see. I am going to be playing one solo game just to let people get on and get into Fortnite, and then we'll go ahead and start the customs. That's just why I'm going ahead and start it. Alpha Coyote, I'm going to be putting up a poll right now to let you guys know what you guys want to do on YouTube. What custom? Hold up. So today, guys, we are going to be playing customs with viewers. Anyone can play. We're going to be doing it pretty much the whole stream. We're just playing one solo game first. You guys go ahead and vote on that while I go ahead and play the solo game. Let's go. We in. W. What's up, Dylan? How we doing, bro? Hope you're having a great day. Mr. Hat Guy, welcome to the stream. When we're doing member review, yeah, it'll just be random, Victor. Anytime I could give away the members. At any time. I can't because I'm on winter vacation. I got you, Slime Up. You can watch then, man. Sarah, you got ramen. W. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, G-Maz. Welcome back, Dylan. Welcome back. Blue Dragon YT. How we doing? Hope we're having a great day. Alright, we're going to be just playing one game, guys. Letting people get in. We're just going to be going lavish. Dylan redeem first. W. Welcome back, Victor. That's why I'm here. I got you, man. I got you. Be right back, guys. Don't know. I got you, Aiden. Sounds good. Hey, guys. The stream should not be lagging. I got new internet, guys. Are you proud of me? Oh, we'll see, Royal Guppy. Maybe after stream. What's up, Cloud? How we doing, bro? How we doing? Guys, are you guys hyped? Are you guys hyped for your games? I'm hyped. I'm hyped. Welcome to the stream, Cats for Life. How we doing? Hope we're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. You should watch Dragon Ball Z. I don't watch Dragon Ball Z, actually. I don't really know. I don't really love watching those like animes though. I like watching those what show? Right now I'm watching The Flash. I like The Flash pretty good, but I'm on season 4 and it's starting to go a bit downhill. What's up, Globe Animates? Welcome to the stream. How's it going? David, rate the new Wi-Fi. It's my favorite W, Sarah. I like your live and I'm new channel. Welcome to the stream, Freddy. If you guys are new to the channel, we stream 4 days a week and post skits every single day, so hope you can enjoy. W stream, let's go. W. The Flash is nice. I like it, Payne. I like it. It's pretty good. What's up, Nolan? How we doing, Nolan? Nolan, you want to join up the customs? You should hop on Fort. Rate the what? Rate the Wi-Fi, David. That's what you should rate. What's up, Daisy? How we doing? Hope we're having a great day. W. Globe Animates is Jacob. I got you. What's up, Scars? How we doing? Flash is good. I know the Flash is good. I like it. Playing one game, guys, and then we're going to go and play customs. So make sure you guys get on. I might join. Got it. Should I subscribe? Cats for Life? That's up to you, man. New Wi-Fi is tough. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, shoot. Alright, let's go. He got a channel finally. Doughboy, you Royal Guppy. Let's go. Okay, we need a shotgun. We really need a shotgun. I'm a sub for real. Let's go, Payne. I appreciate it. The Flash is good. That's what I'm talking about, Dylan. Prepares. Who's that, PG? Who's that? And if you guys have friends who want to play the customs, invite them, guys. The more people we can get, the better. When do customs start, Mr. Baseball? After this game. Dizzy, welcome to the stream. After this game, guys, customs are going to start. I got in a typical gamer stream. Nice. Press. Oh, I got you, PG. What's up, Keeper Kid? Welcome to the stream. I know clipped into the back rooms. That's not very good, Dylan. That's not very good. Everyone get on Fortnite, guys. Get on Fortnite. We are going to be starting the customs right after this game. Mr. Mega, welcome to the stream. Not Penn Swain. Miss Gamer, my duo. Penn is going to be joining me after round 3 games. But until then, I'm going to be getting some random. It looks like duo's going to win. I'm going to be getting some random duos. So we'll see who's going to be my duo partner. You guys might be able to play with me. That'd be pretty hype. Okay, we could use a shotgun from this present. We could use a W stream. Let's go, random. I appreciate it. If you guys are enjoying stream, consider liking. W Wi-Fi, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, thunder, 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 thunder. Nice, nice, nice. No griefing, don't worry. Guys, I tried to get the creative game set up, and I had zero clue how to. So this is what we're going to do, doing duos, trios, and squads for today. And we could try some games that could get griefed, but we can try them. I'm his tourney duo partner, of course. The Wi-Fi is so good. Let's go. We're going fishing. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know. I'm just gonna have a random duo partner for my gosh, I can't speak. A random duo partner for the first one, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna hop on Fortnite so we can get this W. Let's go. What's up, Julian? Welcome to the stream. How's it going? Hope you're having a great day. Whoa! What the aim? What the aim? What the aim? What the aim? We definitely didn't kill ourselves, but let's just start the viewer games. It's alright, it's alright. We're just like that, guys. We're just like that. What's up, Pengu? Welcome to the stream. How's it going? Hope you're having a great day. Duos 1. L. Hey, we're just like that, guys. What's up, Expection? Welcome to the stream. Oops, I forgot that happened. Alright, guys, we are going to be playing duos, so make sure you guys all get on Fortnite so we can play duos. No, hey, Golden Fish, I purposely died so we can play viewer games, you know? I just wanted to get to the viewer games faster. That's all. I used to be level 312 in Fortnite. Oh, my slime. That's crazy. That's crazy. What's up, Daisy? How we doing? Izzy is all. Welcome to the stream. Dude, how we doing? You team first and second. Dylan, you're him. All right, so here's what we're going to be doing. You guys are going to be switching your game mode to duos. Put it on no fill. You guys don't have to have a partner, or you can have a partner. If you guys have some friends online, invite them. The more people get in this custom, the better. What's up, X and Kev? Welcome to the stream. Change it to duo. You then are going to scroll down. You're going to go to this custom key. You're going to type in the custom code, which I'll tell you guys in a second. And then you're just going to ready up ranked. Oh, make sure it's on fill. Oops, we got to make sure that's on fill. Make sure it is on fill. And now I'm just going to be showing you guys the custom key. Give me 1 second. 1111 is the custom key. You guys can join with that. Everybody join up, join up, join up. If I typed in the code wrong. Hold up. Not 11111112 is the custom key. I forgot. I might have typed the code in wrong a bit. There we go. 1112. Not 1111. 1112. Make sure it's on duos fill. 1112. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Typed the code in wrong. The Rubber Baseball. Welcome to the stream. How's it going? Hope you guys are having a great day. 1112. Thank you very much, Victor. I'll go ahead and pin that. What's up, Raymond Show? Welcome to the stream, man. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. 1112 is the code, guys. Make sure you guys all join up. Can I play Fortnite with you? Raymond Show. Anyone can join these customs. All you guys have to do is be on Fortnite, and then just go ahead, ready up for a duos fill. And you can have friends, you can have no friends, you can just go whatever you want. Give me a second, I got you. Not 1113, 1112, guys, 1112. How do I put it in? Scroll down, go to this custom key in the bottom right, and then type 1112. Is it NA West? It is NAE. So if you are on different servers, you are gonna have to type them in, unfortunately. Or switch servers, unfortunately. But other than that, we good. Let my friend join. Yeah, let your friend join. Tell them the code. Let them join. It sounds perfectly good to me. Julian, let's go, man. W Julian. Let's get some W's in the chat for Julian with the $1. Let's go. Let's go. W Julian, I appreciate that, man. And where are my alerts? Don't worry, they're always a bit delayed. Let's go. Me and Jacob are playing together. W. What server? It is NA East. We'll give it a few minutes. Guys, can really join. Let's go, Julian. You're crazy. W, man. Hopefully my alerts work. If they don't, that would be bad. What's up, American Reaper? Welcome to the stream. How's it going? Hope you're having a great day. Oh, another one, Julian. Let's go. W's for Julian, guys. W's for Julian in the chat. Let's go. Let's go. What's up, Alpha Coyote? I won Battle Royale. Nice, Raymond. He's him. He is him. Let's go, Julian. I hit my funny bone on my table, and now I'm in the back room. Oof, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate, Dylan. What's up, Isabel? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. All right, guys, everybody join up the custom. Then we'll go ahead and start. Play rocks next stream? We'll see, Kevin. We'll see. We'll see. Can you add me? Yes, anyone can add me. Just send it right here, and then you guys can add me. There we go. Gotta get the dance moves going, you know. That is loud. Why is that so loud? That is very loud. Is there gonna be a Boxing Day stream? I don't really know. No, it's not working. All you guys gotta do, scroll down, go to the custom key 1112. What's up, +2 Cube? How you doing? If you guys are just joining us, we're playing some customs. Merry Christmas to you too, Dylan. Merry Christmas to all you guys. This is gonna be our last stream before Christmas, guys. So Merry Christmas. What's up, Ninja? You're joining up. I got you. Sounds good. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Roche. You can get in the next customs, man. We're gonna start in 30 seconds, guys. 30 seconds. Night Ninja, yes, anyone can join. All you guys gotta do is be in the stream and just type in the custom code. 2 days till Christmas is kind of insane. Make sure if the server is NA East, yes, make sure your server is NA East. Hey, are you playing this time? Or are you not because your servers are... You might, because if you are, you're gonna be lagging a bit. Merry Christmas to you too, Dr. Freddy. Okay, we're starting in 10 seconds, guys. Let's go. Let's see who's gonna be my duo. 20 people in. Let's go, guys. Invite your friends to the next one. I want to break 40 people in a custom. The most we've ever had is 32. I want to break 40 by the end of the day. If we can do that, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. All right. We're going to go ahead and start. One person is going to be there by themselves because we have an odd number. Please don't be me. I got to put on push to talk real fast. There we go. Please don't be me. Are you going to play a little? I'm playing right now. W stream, let's go. If you guys enjoyed stream, consider liking. Riker, and I know you'll pronounce your name wrong, but I'm going to call you Riker, and it's just going to be a joke with us. What's up, Riker? Welcome to the stream. Dude, how we doing? Win. Yo. Win. W win. I won't be here for long. I got you, Savage. Welcome to the stream, man. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Level 109. Win your him. Win? Hello? I don't know if... Do you have a mic, Win? Do you have a mic? I don't know if Win has a mic. I'm trash. That's okay. If you're trash, anyone can join, guys. Anyone can join. I got unready because Ninja... Oh, I'm sorry, Aiden. I'm sorry. Hey, don't worry. You go to the next one. Thank you for taking this one more better, though, than last time. What's up, world? Welcome to stream it. Can I join? Yes, anyone can join. The code didn't work for me. I'm sorry, Press. You go to the next one. Thank you for the sub, Clyde and Cats. We should do a giveaway at the members one by one so they don't have to leave after the member giveaway just for connection though. Alright. Sounds good. We'll see. We'll see. I'm probably just going to do it at a good spot. Alright, Win. Let's go lavish. Let's go lavish, Win. I have a mic. W, Mr. Rose. Win does not have a mic, but me and Win are popping off, I'm telling you. Thank you for the follow, Dinglos on Twitch. Let's go. Gritty, if you win, I got you. Me and Win are winning. Hey, Win, land the like back little area. Don't land like the front, land like the back. There we go. What's up, Maj? Welcome to stream. Do you have a supporter credit code? I do. It is Mr. Gamer YT. If you want to use it in the Fortnite item shop, it would help me out a ton. What's up, Brogan? How are you doing? Remember me? I do remember you, Samantha. I got you, Dingos. After this game, if you just like remind me, I got you. Show us your keyboard next time you're in the lobby. Sounds good. Just remind me because I'm definitely going to forget. I'm just like that. Alright, when there is a boss, it doesn't look like anyone's coming here. I forgot to hide my screen though, so we're definitely going to get streams tonight. But that's good. What's up, Cool? How you doing, bro? We're having a great day. Axel, I'm in. W, guys. What's up, Eric? If you guys want to join up the customs, all you guys got to do is be on Fortnite, invite your friends, and let's just have a good time playing some customs, guys. We're going to be playing customs the entire stream. It's going to be hype. Hope you guys enjoy. My Fortnite's been updating for the last 3 months. What? That's wild. That's wild. I'm about to sweat. Go for it. Sweat as much as you want. I'm a big fan. I love your videos. Thank you very much, Ninja. I appreciate it. Wrong thing. You're the best. Thank you very much. It said I can't join. I'm sorry, Rubber Baseball. When you get on next custom, you should be able to join. I'm sorry about that, man. What's up, Pat? Yes, you can join. Anybody can join, guys. Anyone can join. We got 17 people in this one, but let's get more the next time and more the next time. What's up, N Adam? How are you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Give me some V-Bucks? Hey, we'll see. We'll maybe put some prizes on these later. We'll see. Dr. Freddy Fazbear, welcome to the stream. That one player, how we doing, bro? Welcome. Hey, kid on me, Win. Kid on me. Alright, I'm not dying to this guy. Hey, Win, I think there might be a guy in our building. Get him, Win. Get him. Come on, Win. Win, you're him. Let's go, Win. My update ain't 50% yet. Oh, I'm sorry, Virginia. I commented earlier. Oh, W1 player. I'm sorry about that. Last stream crashed. It did, but we fixed it. I switched all my settings and got a new internet, so we should be good now. we should. I'm eating mac and cheese and chicken nuggets. W meal. Do you remember me? And Adam, of course I remember you. What's your favorite season in Chapter 2? Oh, Chapter 2, Season 2. With all the mythics, it was crazy. SARS late, you good, one player, you good. All right, Win. Let's go try to get the boss in the mythic. I'm gonna try. I might die doing that, so you might have to clutch up. You know the drill. I got you, savage dummy. I got you. You don't even need to ask. You don't even need to ask. Wait, hold up. Make sure I spin in my chair. There we go. I need a rank duo. Hey, I need a rank duo too, but I don't play enough rank to be a duo. I just play like whenever I'm on, play the rank. So. What's up, Eric? I see you, man. My favorite chapter, chapter 2, season 2. Nice. Same. Chapter 2, season 2 is insane. I'm a YouTuber, W30. How much? What videos do you post, man? I don't know if this is a kid on us or if it's the boss win. I don't play ranked. Do you guys play ranked? Let me know if you guys play ranked. I like Roblox. Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Diamond ranked? Nice. I'm diamond ranked too. This is a custom. This is a custom Toasty boy. Anyone can join the next one. All you guys got to do is be in the game. Or be on Fortnite. The boss is weak. Boss is weak. Here, you can have the medallion and then I'll get the mythic if that's fair. You can have the medallion, I'll get the mythic. It's a bit hard because Win does not have a mic, but it's alright, it's alright. Oh, we win in this game. I love you shorts. Thank you very much, Eric. Very, very much. When. I do not know what that means, Dylan. I got 1.12k subs. Nice that. Hey, Win, let's go get the vault. What's up, Dat Girl? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Hey, come down here, Win. Come down here. Stream sucks? What do you mean, Victor? What do you mean? Oh, I'm sorry, Victor. Aiden, you're getting close. I started watching you, Julian. Hope you enjoy. If you guys are new to the stream, we stream 4 days a week and post skits every single day. So if you guys consider. Can we get a #1 Victor Royale? I got you, Random. I got you. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. I just need to grab a sniper. I need to grab a sniper. Let's grab this one. Yeah, we got a sniper, boys. Love your video. Thank you very much, Key. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. These might be a duo. This might be a duo running on us win. I'm coming out. I'm coming out just to see if there's a duo on us. My first season is season 1. I got you. I got you. Can I be a duo next game? It's gonna be random, PG. It's gonna be random. Dios, I don't think the stream's laggy. I looked at it and it's looking perfectly fine. It might just be you. What's up, MLS? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Can I play with you next round? We'll see. We'll see. You're cool. Thank you very much, Julian. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. It's not lagging? Yeah, Dinglos. I don't really know, man. I don't really know. I don't think it's lagging. I don't think it is. I mean, guys, tell me if it is, but I'm pretty sure it's not. What's up, Z King? Welcome to the stream. I love seeing an OG. Same, Mr. Roast. Oh, let's go. I can have it. Win, you're him, man. The stream's perfect graphics. Yeah. My internet sucks. Yeah, that might be it. That might be it. I mean, I'm not saying your internet sucks, but like, you just said it. You just said it. The OG scene, I wish we still had it. Same. I mean, I fixed all my settings in my stream. I have like a thing where it shows me my stream stats, and the stream stats are perfect right now, so I seem fine. It's perfect to me. WYT. Oh, kid, or a bot. I don't know. One of them. Oh, bot. Never mind. Yo, what's up, Brian? Welcome to the stream. I'm gonna start a channel stream. W, man, you should. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. I enjoy it. Oh, I did not mean to shoot. It's good. How are you? I'm doing pretty good, that girl. Oh, you're Black Marlin. I changed my name. I got you. I'm gonna just call you Z King, but I might call you Black Marlin if I remember that too. Headshot. It was a bot, so it didn't really matter. But all right, when 15 people left, we gotta pop off. Do you like the locker? I think it's bad. What do you mean, American? Aiden, you're so close. Aiden, you're so close. And Aiden, your hints yesterday, you did pretty good on cracking them. You did pretty good, like, on solving them. I can't hear nothing, bro. I'm stuck on him mining an orange rock. I don't know, Dinglos. Yo, what's up, Razor? I got you, man. You can get in the next one. Welcome to the stream. Be right back. Got you, one player. What's up, Jiggly? How we doing, bro? Hope you're having a great day. What do you mean the new locker? I don't know what that means. Moai emoji? All right, Dylan. Alright, there's train passing soon, but let's just try to farm up and get as many mats as we can. Rip Gamers Diamond, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, it wasn't good. It was kind of too, I don't know, I didn't like it. I'm glad I got rid of it. Love the channel, thank you very much, Spine Horse. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Is the code gonna be the same next game? No, the code will not be the same next game. I have to change the code every game, or else someone can like steal it, and it's like not very good. What's up, Francisco Union? Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Hope you're having a great day. I haven't played yet, so I'm going to bed. You going to be bad? Oh, I got you. Wait, what did you just find? What'd you just find, Win? Let me go. Oh, vending machine. Nice. I'm gonna get that because I actually need that. Goodbye, Savage Dummy. Thank you for stopping by, man. Hope you get the rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Win is him, guys. Me and Win are gonna win this. What's up, Angel? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome, welcome. Will you ever play Roblox or Minecraft? Yeah, well, we're gonna start. I want to experiment eventually, but right now I'm just really enjoying Fortnite. So 100. Let's go, Aiden. Everyone, if you guys are in chat, we gotta spam some W's for Aiden. We gotta spam some W's for Aiden being the first person over the stream to watch for 100 hours. That is crazy. That is actually crazy. And Aiden, I'm gonna tell you your prize, even though you already know it. For being the first person to reach 100 hours, Aiden, WW, you're going to be getting. First of all, you can just send me anything at any time. Anything's in the item shop. Yeah, those W's for Aiden are going crazy. Anything in the item shop worth 2,800 V-Bucks, send it to me. That's part one of it. Part two is I'm going to be giving you a $50 gift card. Or I'm going to try to. I know you live in a different country, so it might be hard, but I'm gonna figure out a way to get you $50 somehow. I have a $50 Visi gift card, but I don't know if it's going to work. And then the last part of the prize is I have anytime I'm doing a stream in like a week in advance, I'm going to give you my stream schedule. And if you ever have a 2-hour time period, you can pick the stream idea and it will just be us playing. That is the prize, Aiden. Hope you enjoy it. You can pick the stream. It will just be us playing. And anyone be able to watch, and it will just be a W stream with you and the idea. Hope you enjoy the prize, Aiden. Sounds pretty good. Nice. Glad to hear it, Aiden. Glad to hear it. So just like let me know what days work like a week in advance for the stream, and then we'll plan it out. And then the 2,800 V-Bucks send me at any time. It can be tomorrow, it can be a month from now, and then I will let you know how to get the. I'm gonna have to look on how to get the $50 to you. There we go. W. My specs for Aiden. W random. Hey, Penn Swain. I give the stream schedule to everyone. I post it on my community tab. But I mean, like I'm gonna like. Just make sure we do it good. Me and Ninja just be vibing in the lobby. Let's go. Oh, fighting. Win, they're fighting. We gotta pop off. What's up, Willema? Oh, Willema, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome. Right here. Oh, shoot. Kids. There's kids right here. Oh, we popping off. We getting this dub. They medallion. Yeah, I have an idea on the video. Okay, let me know, Aiden. Aiden, if you want, I can like spend it on V-Bucks as well, but I don't really know if you would want that, so. Cracked. He's cracked. I beamed him. I'm not getting carried as a one. I mean, technically I'm getting carried, but you play Roblox? I sometimes do. Whoa! Don't die. That was almost bad. That's what I'm talking about, random. You shirts are funny. Thank you very much, Akil. I appreciate it, man. Oh, wait, Win knocked him. W snipe, Win. W snipe, bro. Win just had a W snipe. I suck at building that skill. We'll maybe do a 0 build custom. Oh, I could put that up for a poll. What's up, Ozone? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. There's more people, Win. There's more people. Should I sub American Reaper? I don't know. That's up to you, man. But I hope you enjoy our community. Win, I think. Oh, medallion. W, Win. I appreciate that. Oh, shoot, Win. Oh, shoot. That's not very good. What's up, Ozone? How's my day been? My day's been going pretty good. Hey, Win, you got this? We got this. They're running, Win. Oh, more people over here, Win. Let's go, Win. What's up, Julian? How we doing? Hey, we got this, Win. We got this. Oh, wait. Where'd they go? Where are they, Win? Where are they? Shoot, Win. What's up, Queen? What's up, any ad? Win is the GOAT. That's what I'm talking about. Win is the GOAT. Win is him. I play Fortnite every day. W, Mr. Rose, W. Fortnite's a fun game. Oh, I missed it. Oh, shoot. Win above. Come on, Win. We got this. when there is a lot of people around us. My Roblox account is Banana Man, and my Minecraft is Banana Man 123. Nice, nice, nice. How to join the custom? Just be on Fortnite, and I'll show you guys how to join once we start the next one. Oh, I missed it. No! No! No, win! Win, it's up to you. It's up to you, win. Win, clutch up. Win. No, I dropped it for the opponent. No. GG's, win. GG's. That's my fault, man. Dizzy. Hey, Win, you can stay on here with me, or you can go back to... Oh, don't ready up, Spectate. You can stay on here with me, or you can go back. No, why was Typical Gamer and then make a live stream for 24 hours with him? Oh, maybe, Leo. I don't know if Typical Gamer would play with me, but we'll see. You played them well, thank you very much. I like Roblox, welcome back to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome, welcome. Be right back. I got you, Rain. I got you. What's up, Pikachu King? How we doing? Show us your keyboard. I don't really want to unplug it, so I'm just gonna like take my keyboard. I just took my webcam off, and is webcam looking good? Webcam's looking good now. What's gonna be doing next game? We're just gonna be duos one again. We're just gonna be doing a random duo, guys. Random duo. Everybody get on. Everybody get on. Get on Fortnite. Get on Fortnite. Get on Fortnite. Everybody get on Fortnite so we can play. Get on Fortnite so we can play. Get on Fortnite so we can play. W Riz is what I'm talking about. I don't even know why you're saying W Riz, but W keyboard, thank you very much. I have something to ask. What do you want to ask? What do you want to ask, bro? What do you want to ask, man? I'm on Fortnite. W, Pikachu, W. Gamer, don't kill me in Aiden. Hey, Ninja, I'm dead, man. I'm dead. W setup. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I the flu and it's on Christmas break. Dude, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Let's watch Dizzy pop off. Dizzy, you better pop off. Can I join your party, Mr. Rust? I can't have you join my party, but you can join the customs. Dizzy and Gage are going crazy. Number one thing on my Christmas list, ooh, probably batting gloves. Yo, James, it has been a while, bro. How we doing today, man? How we doing? See why for the early stream as I asked? No problem, Victor. No problem. W outfits? That's what I'm talking about. Don't kill me, Harry. I'm not even alive, bro. I'm not even alive. Pikachu, how do I get in the custom? All you guys do is be on Fortnite, and I will show you guys how to get in after this game. You just gotta wait till after the game to join. Are you gonna get boost bullets? Of course. Nah, actually, I am. I actually am gonna get boost bullets because boost bullets are insane. I can't believe Dizzy got me, man. That's unfortunate. Dizzy just better, guys. Dizzy just him. Please stop spamming here. Please do not spam. Your favorite Fortnite YouTuber? Cypher PK. What is dead? I can't get on Fortnite? What do you mean, Leo? What do you mean? Man, Dizzy beamed him. How to become your teammate? It's just a luck thing to be my teammate, basically. Some people will become it, other people won't. Pretty much just luck. I love boost bullets. Same. They're crazy. W room, thank you very much, Pat. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Alright, 9 people left. 9 people left. Dizzy isn't looking in a good spot right now. Dizzy got some W loot going. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Bruce Bolts, I love them too, mister. I've never even used them. What bat do I have? I have the missile too. Stinger missile too. That's a pretty good bat. I like it. Dylan, I'm not gonna answer that, unfortunately, man. Guys, what sports you guys play? If you guys play any sports, let me know what sports you guys play. Let me know. Can I ask a question? What question you want to ask? Random? You guys can ask any question. Just ask away. Live forever, die in 10 years, die in 10 years. You wouldn't want to live together. W Stinger, let's go. Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate it. Football, nice. Hockey, basketball. Yeah, you wouldn't want to live together. If you live together, you just... Handball. Handball's a W game, Dylan. Game guy, welcome to the stream. I play football. W, Mr. Rose. I like football. Football's a fun game. Rugby. Okay, Razor. I see you playing the rugby. Can I ask a question to the whole chat? And you ask it away, Pat. I got you, man. I'll ask the whole chat for you. What's up, Aqua? I'm going to join up. W, man. Baseball on top. That's what I'm talking about. Dirt bike racing. I see you, PG. W. What servers we're on? NA East. NA East. Or if that's... I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but we're on, like, Central or NA East. We're on NA East. I like your setup. Thank you very much, Pikachu. I appreciate it, Ram. I appreciate it. W. Ninja, I don't think you're going to be able to convince them. I think they're still going to kill you, man. I play bowling? Bro, I'm a pro bowler. Test me in bowling. I'll cook up. I'll cook up. I'm telling you. I love it too. You're my favorite. Thank you very much. I play baseball and football. W, cold. W. I have a question. What's your question, Eric? Send it at me, man. Send it at me. Both Minecraft and Fortnite are W games. They are. I got the Lamborghini. Nice balloon. I got the Lamborghini. Football or soccer? What's it called? It's called soccer. I know it's actually called football, but like I don't really think it matters. Hey, Win 2K, were you my brother? Were you my teammate, man? Were you my teammate, Win? Was that you or was that a different Win? Love your favorite YT. Thank you very much. That girl. Dylan Banana. I'm not gonna answer that, unfortunately, but it's okay that you asked. But I'm not gonna answer it. Do you play Sea of Thieves? I do not. I played it before, but I do not really play it. I play soccer. W, man. Guys. Well, why'd I do that? Favorite video game? Send it at me. You guys might have Fortnite, Minecraft. I just want to know. What's up, Burnt Toast? How we doing? Do you live in Virginia? I don't know. Maybe I do. Ronaldo, welcome. Bro, I got a question, and please wait for the answer this time. Don't get distracted, because you kind of do. Just ask the question away, Royale. I got it. How do you enter the custom code? I got you, Aka. I will show you. Minecraft? Okay. Minecraft. Counter-Strike, too. Okay, Razor. Or Fortnite. Got you. Aqua, you can't enter it because we're already in a game, but you can after. So don't worry. 6 people left, guys. Mr. Gamer, my cousin is Tifu. No shot, Pad. No shot. Dave, unfortunately not. But, like, that would take away time from Fortnite is what I'm talking about. Shout out to me. No problem, any. What's the question? Oh, sorry. Wasn't really supposed to read that. I play chess. Bro, chess is fun. I'm telling you, chess is fun. I like chess. Like chess.com, I'll sometimes just hop on there. Do you touch grass? What's grass? Oh, Ronaldo, go. Welcome to the stream. I'm gonna win as a solo. Aqua, you go. Send it, man. Send it. Yo, gaming with James. Let's go. Do you remember when I spammed the super chat? I do, James. I do. I totally remember that, man. Let's go. W. Welcome to the stream. Favorite chess piece? Give me the rook, bro. Let's go. Everyone spam some W's for Game of James. Thank you for the sub, Carl. I appreciate it. W. Dizzy's winning. Dizzy might be winning. Chess is a W game. It is. Let's go, James. I appreciate you, man. You insane. Rook? Yes, bro. Rook. That is not how you spell rook either. R-O-K? That's definitely not. I don't know how you spell it, but that's definitely not how you spell it. What's up, Jack Norris? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Oh, hey, Dave. Hear me out. They take away time from Fortnite. What fruit would you like to eat? Ooh, mango. I want mango. If you guys are enjoying the stream, consider liking. Hope you guys are having a great day. I like mangoes. Mangoes are good. Dave, I'm sorry. Someone forgot to DM me. You guys do not spam emojis or it will time you out. I'm sorry. I forgot to change that. I forgot. I was trying to set up like you, Aki. It's just grinding. Didn't notice you said my comment. Ah, you good, Dylan. You good. He sacrifices. Go work. I'm about to be on 45 ping. Let's go, W, man. 45 ping is the best type of ping, I'm telling you. What's up, Cooper? How we doing? Hope you having a great day. Welcome. Any sacrifices? Like, you play Fortnite good and bad. Like, I'm walking to your stream. Airplane, like, Leo, I have no clue what that means. On Christmas, if I get money, I'm going to donate to your next stream. Let's go, ThemeBot. We will be live. When's Christmas? Monday? We'll be live Wednesday then. Because I'm not going to be live the day after Christmas because I have plans that night. But we'll see. Fortnite Kid, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. I'm good. So if you start spectating me, I'm going to pop off. I know what you mean. I see you. Lacrosse is a good game guy. Fortnite Kid, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. I had all medallions last game. WZ King. W. I have a question. What's your question, Game of James? I got you, man. Hey, wait. Dizzy's about to pop off and get the dub. Come on, Dizzy. I'm cheering for Dizzy. If I die to people who win, that basically means I'm the good. Basically means I'm king. Lacrosse is funny to watch sometimes because people will get so mad. I know. What's your favorite Fortnite skin? Oh, Midas. Fully gold Midas. Guys, what is your favorite Fortnite skin? Let me know. The only good Fortnite skin. American, why? The only good Fortnite skin is fully gold Midas. That's what I'm telling you. But what happens if you win? I don't really know what happens if I win. I mean, I'm just him if I win, apparently. And he sacrifices the queen. Favorite color? Lime green, guys. Lime green is the best color. I'm telling you. Can I ask you a question? Go for it, Cold YT. Go for it. Come on, Dizzy. Come on, Dizzy. Who's the other team? Oh. It was FR Zap. And then who's the last guy? I can't switch. Anonymous. Oh, I can't even see. Alright, come on, Dizzy. Come on, Dizzy. I want you. Is there a prize for the win or is it just for fun? We're going to be adding a prize later, but these first few games are just for fun. But we'll probably be adding a prize later. Do you have Renegade Raider? I do not have Renegade Raider. I'm colorblind? Ah, that's not a problem, Dylan. Dizzy, I want to see a clip, bro. I want to see a clip. Oh, he's him. Oh, he's him. Oh. W. Wait, Dizzy. Wait, Dizzy won. Hold up. Congratulations, Dizzy. W, Dizzy. Let's go. Alright, guys. Duos won. So we're going to be hopping into another duos game, guys. Let's hop in. So here's what you guys are going to be doing. Ranked mode off. Duos fill. Because duos did win. Scroll down. Type the custom key in, which I will type on screen in 1 second. And then ready up. That's all you guys need to do. If you guys don't have a duo partner, it is perfectly fine. If you have some friends that aren't in the stream, invite them, guys. The more people can get, the better. The code is 1114, guys. 1114. All you gotta do is scroll down, type this custom key thing in the bottom right. 1114. All you gotta do, guys. All you gotta do. Somebody type it in the stream, please. I'm just gonna leave for right now and try again later. I got you, Dingless. I got you. 1114 is the code. What's up, Mohawk? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. And we're gonna be starting a new code for what you guys want to do after. Start the poll. Next custom. I spelled custom wrong. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too, Dinglos. We have normal duos, normal trios, zero build. How do I spell zero build duos? I definitely didn't say how to spell zero. Don't worry. Zero build trios. Everybody vote on what you guys want. What's up, Chenner? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? And make sure you guys all get on the customs. You guys have around 2 minutes. Make sure you guys all get in the customs. You guys can have whoever you want on your team. Just join up on the duos. I'll pop off. Let's see. Everyone join up. Can I ask you a question? Send it, Fortnite kids. Send it. What region? What's up, Tudor? Welcome to the stream. NA, east of the region. Favorite food? All right. It's more like a dish, but it's like these noodles come like this peanut sauce. It's insane. It's insane. I'm telling you. Is it duos fill? It is duos fill. Make sure it's a duos fill, guys. Make sure you guys are on duos fill so you guys can join up. Oh, what's up, Coyote VR? W, man, W. Are you good at Fortnite? I'm mid. I would say I'm decent. Gotta go, no problem, Samantha. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you get us your day, and I will see you next time. Can I wear my Minecraft skin? Wear whatever skin you want. What's up, Julian? Welcome to the stream. I'm in. Nice, Mohawk. Nice. What's your favorite animal? Dog, Chenner. Dog. Everyone invite you guys as friends so you guys can join up. Goose, how we doing, Mel? You having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Can I ask you a question? Guys, you guys can all ask me a question. Just send it. I got my duo in. Axel, thanks so much for inviting them. 25 people in. Let's go, guys. This is pretty early. Pretty good people early on. Yo, if we got the same time, we're going to win. I got you, Aqua. I got you. Let's see who's going to get on my team. I am a solo, so I'm going to be getting on someone's. Can I ask a question for chat for me? Send it, gaming. Can I ask a question? Guys, you guys can all ask questions. You got it. You got it. What? Hey, I don't know, Pen. I don't know. We'll see. I like just playing solos right now, so I'm just gonna play and then I'll invite you when we do it, or maybe we won't. We'll see. Love videos. Thank you very much, Theo. Thank you very much. 27 people, guys. I'm gonna give you guys 30 more seconds. What is 1 + 1? It is 4. How many joined? Z King. All you gotta do is scroll down, go to the custom key. 1114 right in there. Just subscribe and auto custom to die. I got you, Mohawk. Thank you for the sub, bro. When do we ready, guys? Ready up. Don't wait for me to ready. All of you guys ready up. Don't just put on the code and not ready up. You guys have to ready up. Riri, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. 1 + 1 = 4. How do you know? Well, think about it. You take the 1 and you take the other 1. And if 1 + 1 equals the same, if 1 + 1 equals the same as 2 + 2 - 2, you just take away one of the 2's. And that means saying 1 + 1 = 2 + 2, and 2 + 2 = 4. What's up, Erickson? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Shay, how you doing, man? Hope we're having a great day. It says I can't join. I don't know, Cooper. I don't know. You can get the next one, though. We're starting in 10 seconds, guys. 32 people, guys. That's insane. What is up, Star? How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Guys, if you guys don't get in, you guys can get the next one. Don't worry. Don't worry, don't worry. What's my name? My name is Spencer. You guys can call me Spencer, Miss Gamer, anyone. We are starting right now, guys. If you guys didn't get in, don't worry. You can get in the next one. It is totally fine. We're going to be playing these all stream, guys. It's going to be hype. Let's go. I got my duo about to cook. Sounds good, Axel. Sounds good. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it, guys. I'm logging in. WBZ. W. What's up, Amir? Welcome to the stream. Come on, duo. Give me Razor. I'm just kidding. Couch potato. Yo, couch. Yo, couch. Couch.
Hello.
What's up, man?
Hello.
How you doing? How's your day been?
It's been fine. I would be in chat, but I can't.
Hey, you're good, man. I get that. All right, we're gonna win, okay?
I'm not signed into YouTube. All right, bet.
Sounds good. That sounds good. That's all right. W couch. Me and couch are W's.
I'm gonna pause the stream so I'm not having to echo.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Sounds good. Spencer W name. Thank you very much, Harry. I appreciate it. 9 plus 10. We're gonna say 21. We'll play a horror game. We probably will, Eric. We probably will. Wait, Eric. There's Eric Garson and Erickson Garson. There's gotta be the same guy. All right, where you want to land, couch?
Where are we gonna land?
Where do you want to land? You pick a spot. You pick a spot.
All right.
All right, fencing sounds good. We just gotta get. If we get them, what mythic is here? Is it
it's Nisha's AR.
AR. The SMG and the SMG and the AR, I think, are the two best, and then it goes the shotguns.
I'd say it's Nisha's, and then it's.
What's up, Blue Dragon? Welcome back to the stream. The SMG
I'm just
though.
not really a fan of the SMGs, seeing as how we have such powerful ARs and such powerful snipers.
Yeah, the SMGs though with the scope are like, if you can hit your shots, it's crazy.
Yes, they are very powerful if you can hit your shots, not their shots.
Yeah. Who's my teammate? My teammate is Couch Potato 1549. He's the best player in the game. All right, I'm landing on this side, and there's a lot of people landing here. I forgot to hide my screen. Right. That's my fault. We might have just got stream sniped a bit.
Probably.
I should have hid my screen when we were landing.
I got a purple shotgun.
Oh, okay. What's my matchmaking reason? It is NA East. It is NA East. Dylan, I'm gonna say 487,839. I'm trying to make contact to you. W, man. Oh, kid on me.
Alright, I'm coming. Getting a few more weapons, though.
Sounds good.
Oh, hold on.
I can't join. I'm sorry, Burnt. I'm sorry. He just dipped to this house.
Mini.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. I got some clingers, so I can blow them up.
What's up, game guy? Welcome, Shane. What's your favorite number? 14. Oh, shoot. No, you good. They're down here. They're in this house. Still. I think right here.
Okay.
There's so many people here.
They're in the box, I think. Watch out.
Oh, I killed Dizzy. It was Dizzy. Right. Let's go, Dizzy.
I'm gonna give you the shotgun. There's the shot. Yeah, there's the shotty.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Let's go. I do not die, girl. I do not. W. What time is it? I don't really know. It's game time. That's what time it is. It's just a lot of work, Goose. I've just been doing it for a while, so I've been getting some people in it. I mean, it's a big grind.
Good answer. Game time is always the right answer.
I know. I mean, it's time to pop off and win a Fortnite game is what time it is. Oh, kids on me.
All right, I'm coming.
Wait, they're under me. How are they? Is there a vault under me?
Oh yeah, there's a vault.
Knocked. Holy, I just 200'd him.
All right, I still don't have. No, I killed one.
Let's go, W. You got this. Thank you very much for it. I appreciate it.
He was AFK though, so I could.
Hey, a kill's a kill.
Too much credit for it.
Kill's a kill.
It's better than nothing.
GG's, dude. How to become mod? If you're just active in stream, I'll just be making people mod as they are active, and I think if they deserve it. I gotta go, no problem. Dr. Freddy, thank you for stopping by. Hope you guys stay, and I'll see you next time. That girl, why should I? Because it's gonna take time away from playing Fortnite. Oh, kids on me. Man, there's a lot of people here. Teammate is the GOAT. Nice, Mr. Hawk.
Game, I glitched. It's so hard.
That's thanks.
It wouldn't let me use my grapple blade, so I died.
Wait, where's the... Where's the mythic? Oh, on me. I just walked into the mythic.
Yeah.
All right, you can.
I almost killed her.
You can have AR. You can have AR. I don't need it.
All right.
I'll take medallion though.
Hey, the more spamming, the better.
That's a true statement for Fortnite. I have to go. No problem, Goose. Thank you for stopping by, man. Hope you guys today, and I'll see you next time. My teammate just randomly went AFK. Oh, that's unfortunate, dude. Who's your favorite person in the chat? I love you all, y'all. Oh shoot.
I really need to reload, so I'm gonna. Oh shoot! What the heck just happened?
Oh, I'm dead. I'm weak. I'm weak. I'm weak. I'm weak.
I don't have any heals. Oh wait, yes I do.
He just killed me with a razor. He just killed me with a car. No shot. Nah.
How did he one-shot me?
I don't know. GG's, man. GG's.
That is ridiculous.
Well, I'm gonna stick around and spectate. You can stick in with me and we can chat, or you can go ahead and go back to the lobby if you want. Anyone's fine. GG's, Razor. Razor's him. Razor is him, guys. How long have I been playing? Since Chapter 2, Season 1 on PC. How long is the stream gonna be? I gotta go, and I was wondering if I can come back. It'll be around 2 to 3 hours. 2 to 3 hours, depending on how it's... yeah, depending on how much time I have. Is it NA East? It is NA East. It is. Oh, he just left. I got you. I'm accepting him.
Oh, no. No way. It's win 2K. 200K.
Oh, it is win. I am unfortunately gonna have to kick you from the party whenever the next custom starts, because I am gonna be doing with random.
Fine.
But we can just chat until then.
That's fine.
Mr. Yeah, never back down over what?
I just
never
wanted to join the party because it is faster with talking.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
You have a bunch of delay, and I can't do the chat, so.
Oh yeah, makes sense. What's up, Jacob? How we doing, man? Hope you're having a great day. What do you plan? I plan on PC. I play on a PC. This is my first time I ever joined a stream. Oh, Jacob, I hope you're enjoying it. We stream 4 days a week and post skits every single day. Hope you enjoy. I just stream snipe you. GG's game. Just GG's. I'll see you later. No problem, Dylan. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you guys today, and I'll see you next time. Favorite gun? Oh, I really like the auto shotgun.
You were right. People were stream sniping.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I should have hid my screen when we landed. I kind of.
It's fine.
Bad.
It's fine.
I don't really know, Riri.
Oh,
Can I 1v1 you? Not right now,
You're
Fortnite,
so
but maybe later, man.
Just the worst, man.
What'd you say?
Oh, I was joking.
Okay. How many people are left? There are 20 people left.
No, I like you. You're really cool.
Gracias. Okay, there's 20 people left. We kind of died a bit early, but that's alright. That's alright.
It's fine.
It is what it is. At least we killed Dizzy. That's all I really cared about.
Yeah.
GG's Dizzy. Bye bye. I gotta go. Have a good
Hey,
minute.
we broke even with the most people in a single game at once.
Yeah.
This
man.
early too.
We hopefully can beat it this stream then. I'll be right back. I got you, that girl. I got you. Can I have a shout out, please? Shout out to Skylar and Marshmallow. Hope you're having a great day. I know a game on Roblox that would be fun to stream. What is it, Raw Guppy? Oh, Razor's fighting.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Oh, Razor just got knocked.
Destroy the person who one pumped me.
No, Razor. I just subbed you. Thank you very much, Cooper. How many languages can you speak? 45. No, I'm just kidding. I can speak 1. Razor just died. Whoever the anonymous who killed me is, they're a bad person in the shop. They killed Razor too. Just know, but no one with this many people, the shop's not gonna be able to happen. I'm sorry, Aiden. Someone is going to unfortunately kill you. What's up, Akil? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. I'm subbing W Marshmallow. I appreciate that.
Yeah, just make sure to hide your screen next time.
Yeah, I will. That was probably my fault. Yeah, Razor. Unfortunately, you did kind of get double teamed. Razor, did you have a partner or were you by yourself? Let's switch to I find someone. Spectating 5 Cub, put me on him. Put me. Okay, I'm spectating my friend now. My friend's in the game. I had a partner. I got you. What's your favorite food? I really like I really like peanut noodles or like anything. Bro. He just made an L while I was spectating him. Bro. What's up, Ruggeds channel? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. I love videos. Thank you very much, Riri. My controller disconnected. Oh, that stinks. Cool. That stinks.
W.
Bro, he's doing take the L.
He doesn't even have it either.
Yeah, he's doing like the rip-off
the
version.
dishonor.
Do you make shorts? I do make shorts, Cooper. I hope you enjoy them. They're pretty good. Hey, Pen, I'll take that if you get the dub, though. You have to get the dub in order for this to mean anything. You gotta get the dub. I'm back. Welcome back, that girl. Welcome back. He's saying, yeah, okay. You gotta get the dub then, Pen. Pen, I want you to fight this, and I want you to win this fight. I'm in the car. W, Rugrats, W. Hey, we'll see, Roy Guppy. We'll see. 50 people left, guys. 50 people left in the custom. Razor's good though. Razor's good. What's your name? My name is Spencer Superman. Welcome to the stream, by the way, man. You guys can call me Spencer, Mr. Gamer, whatever you guys want to call me. I'm totally fine. You call me the best. You can call me Pro Fortnite Kid. You call me L Fortnite Kid. Whatever you guys want to call me, I'll listen.
There's golden Midas in the lobby.
It is the best skin, so I can't blame him. Oh, Pettis got shock whipped away.
Let's go. Bro got knocked back.
I want him to lose, guys.
I agree with that.
Whoever kills Pen, I'm putting a 500 V-Buck bounty on Pen. Okay, his name is 5 Cub. I will be spectating him. You guys can stream snipe him. There's a 500 V-Buck bounty on him. Just so you guys know. If he wins, you guys better not let him win. I'm putting a bounty on him.
He's close to Reckless Railway.
Yeah, he is. Put in a bounty on him. I'll gift you something worth 500 V-Bucks if you kill him. Pen is also a sweat. He is a sweat. Put a 500 V-Bucks. Hey, we'll see. We'll see, Razor. We'll see. Yes, Razor. We'll see, man. We'll see. Hey, thank you very much, that girl. Appreciate it. Shoot us a poll on what we should call you. We'll see, Cooper. We'll see. Playing duos again next game. You guys really like the duo customs. You guys really do.
What's the prize gonna be later?
For the custom?
Yeah.
We'll just have to see. I don't really know exactly if we're gonna be doing a lot of them. I might just like put bounties on people every game, and then if someone kills them, that can be like the prize. And then one game I'll say like when you get something. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Oh no shot! Pen just clutched that up.
Maybe if you get a certain amount of kills.
Yeah, we'll see. Pen's definitely dead here.
Oh yeah. Let's hope so.
Actually,
nah, he is a grappler. He can get out of storm.
Actually, I don't really hope
from
so.
behind.
I don't want to lose my 500 V-Bucks. Hey, Cooper, it's okay, man. It's okay. I hope I can cheer you up with this, man. W for everyone in the chat. Let's go. Me and Razor will be unstoppable. Oh, shoot. 5 Cub is probably better than me. 5 Cub, he's good. He's insane. I love your YouTube. Thank you very much, Superman. I appreciate it. Everybody push him, guys. He's in storm.
Snipe. You're right next to him.
He's nervous. He has 9 other people in the game hunting him down.
8.
I'm gonna have to leave. No problem, Skylar. I appreciate it. Oh yeah, true. I swear, if he wins and I put a 500 V-Buck bounty on him, that would be awful. I say gold for the first time. W, Jacob.
Make it 1,000 V-Bucks if you can find him.
I can only probably give away at most like 2,000 this stream, so I can't give away too much.
None.
Yeah, cause he's listening to the stream. When start YouTube? I started 2017. Goodbye, I like Roblox. Hope you have a great rest of your day, man, and I'll see you next time. If you guys are just joining us for playing customs, anyone can join, guys. Make sure you guys hop on. Hop on. How many subscribers do I do a face reveal? 5 more. You should just go for it. Send it. Oh, his teammate died. Let's go. He's a solo now. Guys, he's at exactly 100 health in Rune, guys. In Rune Reels. You guys should fight him. He dropped his crown. Oh, he dropped the crown.
Let's go.
Oh, he's nervous. Hey, I think I'm just going to go random for right now, and then I might go with Pen later because I already told him we could. But I think we're just going to go for random this stream because I kind of just want to go random.
2 people with medallions just coming after him.
There's 3 with medallions. No, wait, there's a lot.
No, I'm pretty sure. Wait, does he have a medallion?
No, he doesn't.
No. Okay.
Oh, the duo's fighting him.
Let's go.
He's about to die. What's up, Dr. Freddy Fazbear? Welcome to stream. What's 9%? That's 21. You have to end him, guys. If you knock him... Well, actually, his teammates died. Never mind. That doesn't mean anything. Let's go, guys. I'm hyped. Get him, guys. Get him. He's running. He's rifting. Beam him out of the air. Everybody focus him and beam him out of the air.
Yes, he's right over the Loot Island. He's on Loot Island.
He's on Loot Island, guys. He's on Loot Island. Hunt him down. I'm scared to do a face reveal. Hey, I would just send it. I think it can make your audience engage with you more and be better. Oh, Jacob, unfortunately, you can only see the top 10 hour challenge, but if you want to see the top 10, you can do exclamation mark top hours, and then you can do exclamation mark top to see the top points, and exclamation mark points to see your own points. I got a joke, send it, Eric. What's up, Dylan? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. If you guys are enjoying the stream and want to help support me more, you guys can like up the stream. It just helps push it out to a further audience, which is good.
Yeah, he's about to die.
He's done. BC, can we do a hide and seek custom? Unfortunately, I tried to get all the hide and seek and custom actual ones set up, but they weren't working, and I need to actually pay someone to make them for me because it's going to take way too long. So, what we're just going to probably do is normal duos, trios, and squads so no one can grief them. What if I get hate comments? That's okay, that girl. You just got to ignore them. You just got to ignore them. I'll just ignore the hate comments. Do you see the thing I put on my community tab? I did not, Aiden. I will look at it after the stream. Just DM me, and I'll remember to leave it. Oh, Penn's fighting a fully gold Midas.
I told you there was another fully gold Midas in the lobby.
Yeah. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's weak.
He's getting spammed. He's getting spammed. Yeah, he's dead.
No shot. Way. There's no way.
No way.
No, he didn't. Yes. Yes. Who killed him?
Okay.
Axel.
AXO King.
Axel.
AXO King.
Let's go. Let's go, Axel. Thank you very much, Axel. Axel just won something worth $500. I will gift you later, Axel, something worth $500. Let's go. Set timer for 2 hours to gift Axel something worth $500.
Before you leave, what's your name?
Set an alarm for 7 p.m. to gift something to Axel worth $500. There we go. We got Penn Swain is 5 Cub, yes. What's up, Brayden? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Alright, 8 people left. 8 people left. Can we let the same base Mr. Gamer? Ooh, I don't really know. I gotta go, no problem. Cool. Thank you for stopping by, man. Hope you guys today, and I'll see you next time. What's up, Brayden? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? He was literally saying a bounty on Penn. I know. I was putting a bounty on you, bro. What's up, Fortnite kid? How we doing? I'm surprised. What's your surprise, Mr. Roast? What's your surprise? What's your surprise? My teammate did not revive me or grab my reboot. Oh, that's unfortunate, Mohawk. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I probably would have just sniped him the entire time.
Hey, Freddy Faster, just please please keep it as friendly as we possibly
Kill
can.
everybody else first.
Do you remember me? I do remember you, Braden. I do. Do you have any pets? I do have one pet. I have a dog named Coco. A whip, little whip, little whip. Yeah, Penn, I put a bounty on you. I put a bounty on you. That's what I'm talking about, Penn. Oh, thank you, Press. Thank you. Just press remember. I don't know if you already did. Just remember to give him a warning before you time him out. But then, good job, good job. Oh, that girl, we're going to say 20. Just do 20. Do you remember me? I do remember you, Riri. I do. 500 bucks. Hey, Penn. Axel's getting 500 bucks because he killed you.
Slow edit, you know?
Yeah, kind of. I think Axel's going to win it. I think Axel is going to win it. Do you remember me? I do remember you, Riri. I do.
Everybody else has medallions and he's low. If he's gonna win, he needs to pop that med kit now.
Yeah, he should pop it. Why is he not popping it? There we go. Now he's popping it. Aiden, we're in a 4 kit. Okay, I got you, Press. I got you. Sounds good. I killed his teammate and got him down to 46. Nah, he was 36. You got him down more than that. You got him down a lot, Penn. He was weak. Bro, your teammate is not a narrator. Yes, he is, Penn. My teammate's insane. Which favorite movie? I like all the Spider-Man movies a lot. Oh, he's getting scoped right now. Oh, snipe him. Snipe him, Axel. No! Oh, what's up, Physic? So welcome to the stream. What's up, Aside Games? How we doing? Hope we're having a great day.
The new
welcome,
bullet travel mechanic.
I just love the snipers and everything they did to them in general.
Oh, yeah.
They're insane.
I like how you actually have to move with travel time.
Yeah, they're good. Man, Axel is laggy. Axel is very... And that's just showing up to my screen like that. What's up, Ghostly? Welcome to the stream. Oh, Braden, you're Ghostly? I got you, man. I got you. Welcome. What's up, Colin? How we doing, man? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Hope you're having a great day. All of your videos, stay with much more.
Okay.
There's just a guy in
Snipe
Storm.
him, Axel. Let's go.
Axel's insane. How'd you join the customs? Just be on Fortnite, Rose, and you can join up the
he was standing
customs.
still, it's
I got
fine.
5th. GG, James.
He's not that cracked.
Nah, he's insane. I mean, the ones where they're standing
I guess he can
still,
kill Pen.
the ones where they're
kill
standing
Pen.
still are the hardest ones, I'm telling you. What's up, Blessed Edits? Welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a great day. You know, Mr. Start streaming, about to go crazy. Let's go, a side W. If you guys want to become a member and join our channel to get exclusive member streams and other perks, you guys can do !mark member. My name's Amir. Nice. My internet is bad in the car. I got you, Ruggers. I got you.
Oh, being smart here.
Getting some. He's shielding up right now. 6 people left. 4 teams. So there's 2 duos and 2 solos. I'm already a member. You are press. You are press. You are. Can you shout me out? Shout out to that girl, Maggie. Oh, there's 3 teams left, guys. My name's Amir, not Amar. I'm sorry. I might pronounce it a bit wrong, Amir. Miss Gamer, why a bounty? Pen, because I couldn't let you win. That's why not a bounty. I wasn't gonna let you win, Pen. No matter what I did, I wasn't gonna let you. When we do a Q&A, we'll see, Glow. We'll see. We'll see. I love your lives. Thank you very much. I will comment on every single one of your shorts. W. I'm sorry, Cooper. I'm sorry. Yo, but Mr. Gamer, can I see your real name? Yes, anyone can say my real name. It is totally fine. What's up, Ifu? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you having a good day.
Old Midas, but not quite.
I played so much the season it was in. Like, I think I was level like 200 something. And that was
I still
high.
sucked back then.
Well,
it
that
was absolutely trash.
that was my first season on keyboard and mouse, and it was COVID season, so I was just like, I might as well just play a lot. What's up, Toxic? Welcome to the stream, man. How you doing? Hope you having a great day. What are customs? It's just games that just you guys and me are in. So.
Oh, I have something in my throat.
Get a shout out to Mr. Roast. Hope you having a great day, man.
How many medallions do each of them have?
Little whip.
You know?
I don't. I think they have 2 though. I think they have 2. They either have 2 or 3. What do points do? If you guys want to do !mark shop, you can see where to spend your guys' points. We play Among Us. We'll see. How do you get points? You just get points by watching and stream, and then if you want to support me more, you can super chat. But those are the 2 ways you get points. Did you accept my friend request in Fortnite? I accepted all friend requests in Fortnite to people who added me on it. So yes.
We should do a fashion show.
Yeah, but people can grief the fashion show. I spent so much time today trying to figure out how to get people to not grief it, but I couldn't figure it out. So I'm just gonna have to like pay someone to do it for me. What's up, Dylan? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? How do I join? Anyone can join.
Cries if you can figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I spent time trying to do it, but I couldn't get it. How to become a member? !mark member if you want to. How do I join? All you gotta do is be on Fortnite, and you should be able to see the join button. That's all you gotta do. All you gotta do. Man, David, you're number 2 on the leaderboard. That's insane for the points. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. S. I'm sorry. 3 teams left. Oh, is someone in the bush? Oh, they are in the bush. No shot, they were bush camping.
He does have the railway mythic.
No shot, they were bush camping. What's up, Celestial? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you having a great day.
No,
Welcome to the stream.
Clutch move.
Snipe him, snipe him, snipe him.
Him.
Oh, he's weak. Oh, Axel.
Come on, Axel.
Axel's weak.
Axel.
What's up,
He
hello?
is
Welcome to the
solo
stream.
right
Should I
now.
subscribe? It's up to you, man. But if you enjoy the stream, I think you should. Who's the solo? Who's the solo? Who's the solo? Harry? Oh, it's Doxit. Doxit is the solo. I'm back to spectating Axel.
Yeah, everybody should subscribe.
Hey, you
Mr.
should.
Gamer's awesome.
Hey, you should listen. You should listen to him.
Everybody subscribe, or I will come to your house and knock on your windows.
Yeah, you should listen to Couch. Oh, it's a 2v2. It's a 2v2. Wait, no, it's not. It's a 2v1v1. It's a 2v1v1. I lied.
Nah, he's dead. Axel's dead.
Oh, shoot. It's a 1v1v1. 1v1v1 for the win, guys. Who's going to get it?
I'm going to his teammate.
Axel already won the V-Bucks, so we'll see. I'm subscribed. W, Freddy. Axel, I will get you the V-Bucks by the end of the stream. Don't worry, man. Or by the end of the day. Don't worry. Let it snow, of course, Mr. Hat. Who is Axel's teammate? I want to know. He's anonymous, so we'll see. I'm sorry, Amir. 3 people left, guys. 3 people left. Let's see. Who's gonna pop off the dub? Can you tell your chats to all wear turtles?
You should give
I don't know, James.
V-Bucks too.
Oh, we'll see. I wanna say.
He's a solo.
Oh my.
He's
No,
a solo.
everyone's a solo though.
Oh, okay.
They're all
never
3
mind.
solos. I'm subscribed. W, Mr. Rose W. What's up, OG Grinder? It's your birthday? Well, W, man. Happy birthday. Oh, he's going in. Oh, shoot. He should have pulled out his gun there. Levy, can I play? Yes, anyone can play, guys. Anyone can join up the cousins. All you guys got to do is be in stream, and you guys can join up. 1v1. 1v1. 1v1.
1v1. 1v1, baby. Who can win?
Wait, who's the other guy? Who's the other? I want Doxid to win. TBT Doxid. Come on, Doxid.
Wait, is Doxin? Hey.
I liked W, guys. If you guys are enjoying stream, consider liking. Yo, come on, Doxid. Clutch up, clutch up. Hey, Aiden, if you can do it, if you can find out how to make me a map for free, and if you can find out how to make me a map for free and make it so I can shoot guns but other people can't, that's all I need you to do. All I need you to do is make it so I can shoot guns but other people can't. That would be insane, Aiden. That would be insane. And
looking at the metal, not the
all I need you to do, Aiden. I added you, but you didn't add me back. I'll accept all from because of the end of stream. Don't worry. Favorite day of the week for sure, Friday. Doxid with the dome. Let's go, Doxid. Doxid's him. Alright, we'll see you, man. See you, couch.
Later.
Maybe it will be duos again. I mean, you never know. There's always a chance. Hope you. Oh, I'm not in party chat anymore. Wait, I am.
Bye.
Hope you have a great rest of the day and enjoy the stream. See ya, man.
Thank you. I will.
Let's go. See ya. I'm rich now. Let's go. You're so good. All right, guys. You once raised your sub. I didn't really win, but thank you very much. I enjoy the stream. Makes my day. Thank you very much, Amir. We're going duos 1 again, guys. Okay. You guys are loving these duos. What you guys are going to want to do is make it ranked off duos fill on. Scroll down. I want you to go ahead and go to this custom key. Type in the custom code, which I will tell you guys in 1 second. And then you have to ready up. That's all you guys need to do. The custom code is 1116, guys. 1116, guys. Everybody join up. Let's see how many people we can get in these customs. Invite your friends, guys. It is totally fine. 1116 is the code. 1116 is the code. 116, yes. 1116. Everybody join up, guys. Everyone join up. Hey, Maggie, keep grinding, man. Keep grinding. I'm going to be starting a new poll for the next game. Next game, we're gonna be taking duos out of it, or zero. We're gonna be taking normal duos out of it. 0 build duos, 0 build trios, normal trios. What's up, Parker? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Everybody join. Let's see how many people we can get in this. If you guys have friends, invite them, guys. Invite all you guys as friends. Let's go. I mean, I did not mean to say if you guys have friends. I mean, if you have friends online. I mean, I know all y'all friends because all y'all W people. I said another bounty on me? Nah, I'm not. One's enough. What's up, world? Welcome to this stream, bro. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Play 0 build. I can't play builds. Hey, we'll see. Normal trios looks like normal trios is looks like it's gonna win up the next game. But we're just gonna see. Everybody getting. You guys have around 2 minutes left. Let's go. Let's send them all. Put another bounty on them. None of my friends are on. I got you guys. I got you. Here we go. Me and my friend are in. WZ King W. We have 30 people in right now, guys. Let's get as many people as we can. What's the bounty amount? I don't know if we're gonna put a bounty on Fen this game. We'll see. If he's still alive after I die, we'll see. I can claim IRL. Ooh, he could claim IRL. No, I'm just playing. Can you get me the Wix Katana for 500 V-Bucks? I'll just do that right now. Wait, hold up. I'll do that right now. Wix Katana. Let me find it. Wix Katana. Is it in the item shop right now? Hold up. Oh, I got it. Gift of friends. Axe King. I got you. WX King. I hope you enjoy your gift, man. Can I be mod? If you guys want to be mod, !mark mod. What do we get for winning? We don't right now. We're not doing a prize for winning, but I'm putting like a bounty on someone. Maybe some games. We'll just put throwing in a lot of prize there and there, but it's mainly for fun. Everybody join up. All you gotta do is scroll down, custom key, type in the custom key right there. What's not fair, Jacob? I'm in W. Les said it's W, man. Favorite animal? I really like dogs. Dogs are pretty cool animals. Dogs are pretty cool. Everybody join up the customs. Can you add me? If you guys want to add me, you guys can just send me. My name is right up here. Start at 2:30. We will be starting in 30 seconds more, guys. Make sure you guys join up. You should add me back. I friended you. We'll see. I can't really play because I'm at my grandma's house, but just wanted to say hi. And will there be a stream tomorrow? There will not be a stream tomorrow, no. Is it 0 build? It is normal build, guys. Normal duos. Make sure you guys join up. 34 people in the game. Let's go, guys. Y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. Most ever, guys. Keep joining up. We'll start in 10 seconds. You're the best YouTuber. Thank you very much, Amir. I appreciate it. 35 people, guys. Most we've ever had in a custom game. Let's go, guys. Let's go. If I get 10 kills, can I get gifted? Sure. I got you, Braden. I got you. Because 10 kills with 35 people, that's kind of hard to do. So, I mean, why not? All right, guys. Let's go ahead and start up. Let's go ahead and start up right now. Here we go. Here we go. Let's see. Let's see. Who is going to be my partner? Give me. Ooh, I don't even know. I don't even know. Can I see that mod ass, please? Oh, I forgot. Okay, and also DM me to do that. And you have a lot of stuff to DM me. No problem, Axe. You clutched up. You killed Pen, and that's all that matters. Oh, please give me a duo. Please give me a duo. Please give Smokey. Smokey. Hello, hello. Please, Smokey. Please tell me you have a mic. Smokey, you there? You there, man? Hello, Smokey. Please, Smokey, please. Please, Smokey, I need you. Hey, I don't care, Pen. You're just mad. You're just mad, Pen. Pen's just mad. Okay, I'm behind my screen. You guys are not going to be seeing where me and Smokey are landing. Smokey, we're about to pop off, okay? I don't know if you have a mic, but we popping off, Smokey. You hear me? We're popping off. Let's go, Smokey. Bro, I got like, oh, I'm sorry, Levy. I'm sorry. Here, Smokey, I'm not going to say it out loud, but let's go. Let's go here. Don't say it out. Smokey, I'm not going to say it out loud, but let's go here. Let's go here. Let's go, Smokey. Oh, I'm sorry, Brain. I'm sorry, man. Amir, what's up, man? If you guys didn't get in, you guys can get in the next game. Don't worry, you guys will get in the next one. Let's go, Smokey. Me and Smokey are winning this. Me and Smokey are winning this. I'm just trying to let you all know that me and Smokey are winning. How did the Dodgers sign over one? Bro, I don't know, David. That's what I'm questioning. I'll try next game. I got you, Brandon. I'm wondering how the Dodgers are able to sign every single person and they still are going to manage to lose next year. Hello? Hello? I swear I just heard him talk. I swear I just heard him talk. I might join for the next few rounds. I got you, Alaska. Sounds good. Your mic is cutting out a bit, man. Your mic is cutting out a bit. Mima, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. I just heard him talk. I just heard Smokey talk. I might join the next round. I got you, Alaska. Is he talking or am I just imagining this? Am I going crazy? I don't even know. You crashed. Oh, I'm sorry, Burn. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. Smokey, I like hear you starting to talk and then it like just goes away. Unless I'm just imagining that. I hear. Okay, we're unhiding our screen. We are in Snooty. Don't come to me. Don't come stream snipe me. Don't. Alright. Good loot off the bat. I don't know Fortnite. Oh, you good, Celestial. Hope you can enjoy just watching the stream then. I might join the next rounds. I got you, Alaska. What's up, Memer? I subbed. Thank you for the sub, Levi. I appreciate it, man. It means a lot. It means a lot. It's a W. There's a kid or an NPC on me, Smokey. What's up, Jimmy? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Oh, there's a kid on me. There's a duo on me. There's a duo on me. There's a lot of people on me, Smokey. There's a lot of people on me. Oh, we running. I'm joining next match. I got you, Levi. Smokey, kids, Smokey. Smokey, kids on me. Please, Smokey, please, I need you. What's up, Nico? Welcome to the stream. I'll definitely join. Let's go, GMW. Scan, thank you very much. Oh, Zero Build Duos is taking the dub. Zero Build Duos just took the dub on the poll, guys. They're up there, Smokey. They're up there. Watch out for them. Watch out. Don't get beamed. Hey, Smokey, we should dip back. I need a shotgun. Thank you very much, Alaska. I appreciate the sub, man. Smokey, run! Run, Smokey, run! Hey, minis. Smokey, they're on us. Ah, Smokey, please. Smokey, you're him, bro. No, Smokey, please. No, Smokey. Hey, GG's, Smokey, GG's. Hey, GG's, man. Why, Smokey, why? Hey, you played good, man, I died first, that was my fault. Let's just spectate. Bro, he got peekabooed. I was trying to talk to Smokey. I still was looking for a shotgun and they just appeared out of nowhere. Sorry, Space Smokey. I got you, world. I got you. What's up, Slavin? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Oh, shoot. He just died. Man, why do we keep dying off bat and have to watch the whole game? That's kind of unfortunate, but it's alright. Okay, I'm not dying off bat in these 0-build duos, guys. I'm telling you, I'm not dying off bat. I'm not gonna lose the 0-build duos. Up, I'll join. Let's hope you can get in, Jim. I hope you can get in, man. Let's go ahead and find someone. Let's go ahead and find Pen. We're finding Pen, guys, because I'm gonna find him. Okay, he's not there. Oh, it's Doxit again. Doxit was the winner of the other game. Coyote VR Gamer Pro is dead, unfortunately. James is in. Okay. Hot Horse. Oh, this guy's a solo. Axel. Okay, Axel. I see Axel grinding. What's up, Cuddy? How we doing, bro? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Rebels is in. I'm back. Welcome back, Random. What's up, mister? Welcome to the stream. Razor and Dizzy. Hold up. This is not fair. Razor and Dizzy cannot be on the same team. Hold up. Yo. Alright, they're winning, I think. If you guys don't, you guys better win. Win is dead. And their team just died. What's up, Mr. Official? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. I killed you as a turtle. Nice, Colin. I'm looking for Pen. I just want Pen. I just want to find him. If you guys are just joining, we're playing customs. Anyone can join, so make sure you guys get on Fortnite so you can join. Oh, we're back to Dizzy and Razor. I'm not good at the game, so that's okay, Jimmy. It's okay. You don't have to be good. Anyone can join. There he is. We're playing it, guys. We are playing 0-build next game, so anyone can join. Oh, shoot, bro. Nah, you lost. I don't want to hear it. You died last game, Pem. I don't want to hear it. This is Fortnite, Mies. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Quick Play Creative. We're just going to be probably continuing this going right now. Yo, me and my duo were the ones that killed you. GGZ, King of Potatoes. GG's. Boom. I'm crying to Fortnite. Well, Fortnite kid, join up the next custom and let's see if you're better. I would, but my brother's putting my account. I got you, mister. I got you. Oh, I'm smoking my mic. I don't know why, but it's really quiet. Oh, I got you, world. I got you. It's Smokey. I'm saying Smokey. Oh, you're Smokey? I got you, what? I got you. How people are in? There were around 35 people in last game, but we can just get more and more, and people can keep inviting their friends, and we can get more and more people in. So, hope you guys enjoy it. I'll join, but I'm not that good. Hey, Cuddy, don't worry about it. Join up, man. The more people we can get, the better. Guys. Join up. I still like Christian to mod. W, Harry. W. Yeah, I'm going to join. Let's go, Teamy. I appreciate that, man. If you guys are enjoying stream, hope you guys join up the customs, because we want you guys to join up the customs. I want the more people we can get in, guys. It's me and Colin who killed you with potatoes. Just realized I wasn't sub. Let's go, Mies. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much for subbing. If you win, I'll do nothing. Got you, absolutely stupid. Sounds good. What's up, Bug DIY? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Man, we gotta stop dying off spawn so we don't have to spectate all these games. Aiden, you're still alive? Alright, we're not spectating Pen anymore. We're spectating Aiden. Oh, I found him. That was pretty easy. No, this is Mac Lean. Give me Aiden. No, I gotta get to Aiden. What's up, Chase? Welcome to the stream, man. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome. Why am I back to Dizzy? What's up, XCT? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? There we go. We Aiden. Aiden, I love your videos. Thank you very much. What's up, Aiden? Where are they? What is Aiden doing? What is Aiden doing? Your videos are hilarious. I try to make funny too. Hey, keep going, mister. You can get better at them, man. I believe in you. Let's go. He's singing. Aiden, your head. I love your videos. Thank you very much, Chase. What are your thoughts on Lego Fortnite Bumpy Bear? It's Lego Fortnite's a W. Lego Fortnite is a W, I'm telling you. It's alright. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. Welcome back to the stream, Mohawk. I like the room setup. Thank you very much, Beast. I appreciate it. Sorry, I just got default dance with them. The room setup, should we show more of the room setup? This is the room setup. I just want to like expand it. I like this angle. It looks good. The big mic. Can I join your party and we go together for once? I am gonna be playing the next duo game with my friend, but hopefully we can go against each other. James, loving the lights. Thank you very much, Mies. I appreciate it. Drippy, let's go, Brayden. W. Man, okay, I gotta find someone in a fight. I'm sorry, Aiden. It was fun to spectate you, man, but I gotta find someone fighting. Oh, there we go. Let's go, Dylan. Can you turn your mic on a party? My mic is on the party. I have push a talk on. I can hear you though. Like, see, now I'm talking. I just have push a talk on so that you don't hear all this little junk. Just sub W, Cuddy. Are we hide and seek? I do not think we're gonna play hide and seek or fashion show this year. I think we're just gonna stick to the normal duos and trios. I like them a lot, so we're just gonna stick to them. Oh, I can kind of hear you a bit. Just so you know. Kind of hear him a bit. Code's not working. Bug. We're already in the game, so the code's not gonna work till after the game. Don't worry. You can join up the next one. Don't worry. We have to be out of the game in order for you guys to join. During Fortnite Festival, I think it's pretty good. I haven't really played that much. Oh, they're fighting. What's my next stream? My next stream will be Wednesday, guys. Wednesday will be my next stream. Unfortunately, with Christmas coming up, I want to spend a lot of time with my family, so we just gotta go with that. Are you streaming tonight? Yes, I'm streaming tonight. right now. This game is a W? Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about, James. I appreciate it. Means a lot. After this game, guys, we are gifting 5 random members to chat, because why not? And I want you guys to experience the member streams, which we do a member stream once a week, so I hope you guys enjoy it. And we have a bunch of other member perks that you guys can see, so I'm going to be gifting 5 members to people in chat. So, how do I join? All you got to do is be on Fortnite, and I'll show you guys how to join the customs. I'll show you guys how to. What rank are you? What rank am I? I forgot. I'm plat. No, I'm not. I'm diamond 1. I'm diamond 2. I'm forgetting what rank I am. I died. Aw, you good, Axel. Aiden, you almost do 101 hours, Aiden. Aiden, I can't thank you enough for that, man. Like, actually, that's crazy that you've watched my streams for over 100 hours. I have 6 kills, W, Aqua. Hey, maybe one day, Aiden, you'll reach 200 and 300 and so on. That would be crazy. I have 6 kills, W, Aqua, W. It sucks being so... Oh, I'm sorry, dude. Can I get a free member? I've been to every stream since the beginning of Winter Break. Hey, I'm going to get them 5 random members. 5 random people are going to get it. And you get the name on the Wall of Legends. Because if you don't know, I write all my members' names on the Wall of Legends. Which is starting to fill up. We have 31 people on it, I think. Wait, hold up. Yeah, 31 people on the Wall of Legends. The member goal is not going to go to the gifted members are not going to go to the member goal, though. So, how much did your whole setup cost? Ooh, my PC is like a lot. My PC has a 4090 and an i9-13900X. Hey, I'm trying to get that. Did I come off your wall? Nope, Gaming, you're still on there. You guys are permanently on there. Gaming, I didn't fill out the request for you. When you were a member, James, I didn't really do the member request, but I actually do them now. So, I kind of feel a bit bad. I wish I could get it back to you, but I don't. I didn't really, like, fill out the actual member stuff, but I actually kind of fill them out now, so it's good. What's up, Ray? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Do you add people? Yes, Mohawk. If you want to add me, you can send it right here. That always lags my game a bit. What's up, Rez? Welcome to the stream. I'm YT Loyal Rez. Nice. I appreciate that, man. The Alpha Coyote. Welcome to the stream. I got one shot at full HP. Oof. What's up, Renero? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Buy an AR. I don't know about that one, Alpha Coyote. It might have been a sniper. These people are good. Doxid won the other custom. Doxid might win again. My person spectating you? Nah, Doxed's good. Doxed is good. So it might have been a sniper. I love videos. Thank you very much, Ray. I might join on your YT. Nice, Bug. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. 1v1 me? I'm sorry, Fortnite kid, but I'm not going to right now. 10 people left, guys. How many teams? 6 teams left, which means there are 4 duos and 2 solos left in the game. Just gotta sit back and relax while I watch this go now. Oh, they're dancing. Dancing in the middle, no, all night. Dancing in the middle. 1 plus 8 equals 9. That is true. Oh, Travis Scott. Travis Scott's a solo. What's up, edits? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Back to Dizzy and Razor. I'm telling you, I told you they're winning from the start. I'm telling you. Can be on my duo. I'm gonna be doing with my friend next game, but hopefully we can go against each other. My teammate left me. Oh, I'm sorry, Alpha Cody. That's unfortunate, man. That's unfortunate. All right, Razor. All right, I'm switching off of you. I don't really want to watch that. Let's go, Dizzy. Dizzy's winning. Dizzy's winning. Hey, if you guys got them. You guys got Dizzy though. How many people left? There are 10 people left in the game. There are 10. Don't kill the chicken. Don't kill the chicken. How long are you streaming? We've been streaming for around an hour and a half, and we're probably gonna go for another hour or so. 30 minutes to an hour, probably. We'll see. We'll see. Do you collect anything? Fossils, movie collectibles? Not really. Not really. The most interactive stream I've ever been. Everyone else is so blunt. Thank you very much, mister. I appreciate that. I try to interact with you guys as much as possible. Razor knocked you? No. How dare he? I'm finding him. I'm kicking him off. Sorry, man. I'd hop off. You good, world. I will see you next time. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you guys today, and I'll see you next time. Razor, how could you? What's up, FN player? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome. Got pets? I do have 1 pet. I have 1 dog. Do you guys have any pets? Let me know. I've been subscribed when you only had 4K. You did, Axe. You're an OG. You're an OG sub. You're an OG. Look what I'm dealing with here. This guy thinks he's him. This guy thinks he is him. But I'm just kidding, Razor. I'm just playing, Razor. I'm just playing with you, man. He is pretty much him. He is him. Hey, I got you, Axel. I will. Can we do trios next round? Oh, well, I'm going to be putting up another poll, and 0 build duos actually did get the dub, but I'll put up another poll to see what we do after that. Oh, the Travis Scott solo? W, dude. 9 people left, guys. 9 people left. I have 4 dogs. Nice. Do 10 push-ups? Maybe later. Yo, Miss Gamer, I'm going. I hope you have a great break. No problem, Burnt. Hope you have a great rest of your day, man, and I'll see you next time. Razor, I want to see you go fight someone. Razor, you have 0 limbs. Hey, stop dancing, Razor, and go fight someone. You have 0 limbs. Yeah, stop dancing, man. Go fight someone, Razor. Razor, you are sitting at 0 to limbs. That's our best team ever. Let's go, James. W. Hey, I placed top 6. I'm proud of that. Oh, thank you very much, dude. I actually have 1. Oh, my fault. My fault, Razor. My fault. You have 1. Razor, I want you to go fight someone. Razor's him. We have 2 total. Yeah, I know you have 2 total. It doesn't even say that you have 1, though. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, Razor. Oh, he's him. Oh, never mind. Dizzy's better, Razor. Dizzy's just better. It looks like Dizzy's just him. Bottom line. Razor's my clip bot. Nice, Axe. I don't like shopping. Neither do I, Ray. How to 5 mod? Exclamation mod. What's up, Christy? Welcome to the stream. You just joined the chat. Well, welcome. If you guys are just trying to find some custom beer games, make sure you guys hop on Fortnite so you guys can play. I'm sorry, Aqua. I'm sorry. And that's why he's the go-to-go. That is that Mohawk. Dizzy's better. 7 people left, guys. There are 4 teams, which means there is 3 duos and 1 solo. The Midas killed me. Ah, that's Dizzy for you because Razor didn't get the LM. How do you get on? Absolutely stupid. All you gotta do is be on Fortnite, and then you guys can join up the game. Depends on taco. Pizza toppings. What are you talking about, Mies? I'm hopping on right now. W, Cody. Dizzy's cheating. I got shot through the floor. Dizzy's not cheating. I'm sorry, Aqua. He's not. Don't worry, he's not. What's up, Eric? How we doing, bro? We're having a great day. Hope we're having a great day. Do exclamation mark mod. Exclamation mark mod, Alpha. 7 people left, guys. If you guys want to know, Razor and Dizzy are kind of like going into lavish on like the outside. Razor's at 100 health and 60 shield. Just letting you know. I just like messing with them. I only started playing 2 of your customs, so I play 6, which is really good players, and I just started back up Fortnite, so that's improvement. Nice, dude. Nice. Put bounty? No, I'm not going to put a bounty on him. It's too late in the game to put a bounty on him. I would need to do it earlier. $1 billion V-Bucks? I should put a 1 billion V-Buck bounty on him. I should. We play Balloon Tower Defense. Balloon Tower Defense is a W game. Just saying. Goodbye, Ray. Hope you're having a great rest of your day, man. And I'll see you next time. Oh, there's kids in here. There's kids in here. Need some water. I just spilled my water on me. Oh, my. Oh, bro. How does that make sense? He went behind the floor, and I went behind the scare, and I got headshot sniped through the floor. I'm sorry, Aqua. I'm sorry. Don't worry. He's not hacking, though. Who was the duo? My duo did not have a mic, unfortunately. Or his mic was not working, so. Can you give me something, Mr. Rose? Unfortunately, I can't, but if you win one of the challenges on our custom and we like put a challenge on it, then we'll get it. Then we'll get it when you get it. I'm really popular in school. That's a W, Mr. B. I'm glad. I'm popular in a random high school. Or middle school, or elementary school. Or college. If I'm like Georgia. Or like Mississippi State. only like one of like the best football schools. Do you watch Scooby-Doo? Of course. Of course I do. My teammate couldn't even comprehend what was happening. Oh, I'm sorry, Aqua. I'm sorry. First basketball? Same. Remember when you asked McDonald's where the nearest Chick-fil-A was? Yeah, I know, and they didn't even respond. That was a pretty L, Axel. I get bullied at school? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Rose. I'm sorry, man. What's your favorite chips? Alright. Purple Doritos are the best chips for sure. They're so good. I'm sorry, Aqua. I'm sorry, man. Unfortunately not. I gotta save them. I like giving them away on like other different challenges and stuff. What's up, my boy Leroy? Welcome to the stream. How you doing, guys? What is your guys' favorite snack? Let me know. Basketball name should have been CFA. Bro, we should. David, why did we not do that? Blue Doritos are good too, but I like purple better. Oh my gosh, please kill Razor, please. He's taking a medkit in the middle. Razor, what are you doing? What'd you just sell your medkit for? Purple Doritos on top. That's what I'm talking about, Braden. That's what I'm talking about. Pringles are good too. Pringles are good. I like Pringles. 6 people left, guys. So they're all teams of 2. Everybody's a duo. Wait, is Penn still alive? Please tell me Penn's not still alive. Aiden's still alive. Ha, Penn died. Let's go. Let's go, Penn. What's up, Crafty the Nintendo fan? Welcome to the stream. I was soloing. I got you, Aqua. Jalapeno Cheetos dipped in hot salsa. That does sound good. Not gonna lie, that sounds good. My favorite snack is toasted chocolate Pop-Tart. What? Toasted chocolate Pop-Tart sounds actually insane. I kind of want that. I can put that score. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm here. Hey, don't worry about it, man. You just gotta ignore the haters. Oh, he's dead. Oh, Razor's dead. No, you're not getting it off in time. He's gonna be too far away. He's just gonna have to keep taking him. He's not gonna get it. He's not gonna get it. Razor, you're dead. Razor, you're dead. No. Yes. Let's go. Put him to Dizzy. Dizzy's gotta clutch up. No, Aiden died. Aiden, no. It is a 1v1v1, guys. 1v1v1. What's up, Root Beer? Welcome to the stream, man. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Watermelon with mustard. Cuddy, I don't really know. That doesn't sound like the best to me. Merry Early Christmas. Merry Early Christmas to you too, BZ. Merry Early Christmas to you too. Do you like Mr. Beast chocolate? I do, actually. Oh, snipe him. Snipe him, Dizzy. Please. No! Dizzy! What's up, Miles? Welcome to the stream. Ben, how we doing, bro? We're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Dizzy, no. Dizzy, no. Oh, good shot. Oh, Dizzy, why? I thought. Wait, use it back up? We'll put it up. I want to go back after this game when we go back to lobby, Mohawk. Dizzy! Dizzy, you gotta hit your snipes, man. Come on, Dizzy. What's up, Storm? How we doing, bro? We're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Dizzy. Oh, Dizzy just got sniped. Come on, Dizzy. Headshot snipe him. Headshot snipe him, Dizzy. Show them why your name is Dizzy. That doesn't make sense, but you got it. I'm surprised you made it this far. Come on, Dizzy. You should do an 8v8 red versus blue game. We'll see, Axe. We'll see. Honestly, surprised there isn't more people. Let's go, Mez. I appreciate that, man. That means a lot, means a lot. Hey, we're going to keep grinding until we're number 1. I'm telling you. We're going to keep grinding until we're the number 1. Number 1 streamer, number 1 sports creator. We're just going to keep it going. We ain't stopping until at the top. Honestly, surprised. Oh, sorry. I just read that out. Can I friend request you? Yes. Anyone can send me a friend request, and I'll accept them all at the end of the stream. Don't worry. It's a 1v1 against Dizzy. Oh, shoot. Dizzy. Who's the other team? It's Doxed again. Doxed had won the other one, guys. First time watching your stream? Well, welcome, Storm. Hope you're enjoying it. Dizzy, don't let Doxed win again. Doxed win the other game. Come on, Dizzy. I'm cheering for Dizzy right now. I'm cheering for him, man. I want Dizzy to clutch up and get the dub. I want him to. Chili's is good. Chili's is not good. Chili's is good. I like Chili's. Dizzy, you're weak. Dizzy, headshot snipe him. Dizzy, he's out of mats. Dizzy. You got this. W, Dizzy, and Razor with the dub. Oh, let's go. I'm not happy Razor win. Just Dizzy. I'm just playing Razor. I'm just playing. W, Dizzy, and Razor on the dub. Let's go. They're crazy. Alright, guys, so we are playing a 0 build game now. 0 build. 0 build duos did win, so we're gonna play 0 build. Hello? Hola?
Mr. Gamer.
Pen, did you know Axel clipped you?
He did not clip me.
I'm just playing. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and tell them how to get it, and then I'll talk to you again. Alright, so guys, what you guys want to do is go to 0 build Fortnite, which is just gonna scroll down here. 0 build. Switch the game mode to duos fill. Turn ranked off. Scroll down here. Put the custom code 111, and then I'll tell you the last number in a second. And then ready up. Go ahead and ready up for me, Pen.
Got you.
Go ahead and ready up. The code is 1119. 1119 is the code.
Should I play Peter Griffin?
Yes, please play as Peter Griffin. Invite your friends, guys. Invite your friends. 1119 is the code.
GG's, Razor.
You did keep missing the bit, Dizzy.
I'm trying to freaking SMG spray you.
Everybody, 1119 is the code. 1119 is the code.
I'm very ashamed, Razor.
Razor's him, but Razor is him. Put it on 0 build, guys. 1119 is the code. Anyone can join up. Pen, would you rather me have push to talk on or not push to talk? I'm just gonna ask you. I forgot to push the talk to ask that. Pen, would you rather have me have push to talk on or not push to talk on? I'm just gonna ask you.
To be honest, I'd rather have not.
Alright. You're gonna hear me talking to chat a lot, just to let you know. Alright.
Yeah, I can't hear you right now.
You're gonna hear me talking to chat a lot, just so you know.
That's fine.
Alright. You're sorry, you're good. Dizzy, you're good. If you guys want to join, all you gotta do is scroll down, go to the custom key. You're gonna go right here. 1119 is the custom key right there. And then scroll back up and ready up. Make sure you guys ready up for 0 build duos fill. I'm gonna be putting up another poll for the next game. If you guys are enjoying stream, consider liking as well.
I was playing with 2 of your viewers that I had like already friended like even before we even started playing.
Nice.
I promised him I'd give him a shout out. Am I allowed to?
Sure.
Shout out Cold Gusto or reverse Cold Gusto. I don't remember which one. Oh, Cold Gusto just invited me to his party. Oh. No, I can't.
Don't join. Don't join.
Can't do it.
Alright, put up another poll for what we do next, guys. I put up another poll. Let's hope Dizzy and I are the same duo again. You guys are doing. I told you guys were gonna win from game 1. I knew you guys were winning. I'm destroying the whole lobby. I got you. Oh, Trios build is gonna win next game.
Wait, isn't this game supposed to be Trios?
No, Trios was winning, but then 0 build duos won.
Are we doing 0 build?
Yep,
duos?
We are playing 0 build duos. Yes, we are.
You know what? Yeah, let's go. I'm plugging in my controller.
Put on your controller. Get that aim assist and let's pop off. We ever played Lego Fortnite? I sometimes do, Eric. I'm dropping 10. Let's see it, Brayden. Everybody ready up. All you gotta do is scroll down. Custom key. I'm not gonna gift you this game, Brayden, but you got this. You can drop 10. Scroll down. Go to the custom key. Type in 1119 and then ready up. That's all you guys need to do. I sent you friend requests. I'll accept them all at the end of the stream. Don't worry, Mohawk. Don't worry. It's not working. Storm. Make sure you ready up. Make sure it's on 0 build duos fill. Duos fill. If you guys don't have a duo, just ready up as a solo. And if you guys have any friends, invite them. The more people we get, the better. We're gonna start in 30 seconds. Hurry, Fortnite kid, hurry. What?
I do not know how you learned this stuff. It is confusing to me.
Learned what?
Like how like the codes work and like the 0 build. The game modes is weird.
I don't even know.
Weird.
Fortnite is just weird. Hurry, guys, hurry. Join up. What's up, Ghostface? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Welcome.
Is actually
starting in 15 seconds, guys. Bro, he is. Is it hard to be a YouTuber? You just gotta put in the work, Eric.
You just gotta put in the work, and then eventually, when you get that cash flow income, then it just gets easier. I'm playing. I have no clue about it.
My bro's joining. We'll make sure he gets in, guys. We're starting really soon.
And he didn't say he was joining. He said he was hogging. Well, I don't know what that means.
What's up, Ghost? Welcome to the stream. What does hogging mean?
Like taking the controller, I guess.
All right, what's up, Adrian? We're gonna go ahead and start up. If you guys didn't get in, don't worry, you'll get in the next one. You will get in the next one. Who's 5 Cup? This is Penn, David.
Wait,
I told my friends to join. Everyone get it in. What's up, Nick here? What server? We're on NA East. I'm sorry, guys, if you didn't get in, you'll get in the next one. Don't worry. We're gonna be doing one more probably after this, and then we'll see. And it's gonna be a trios build, which is gonna be nice.
Spencer, phone.
What?
Phone. Just check it real quick. I got questions.
Who is David? Yes, it is.
Okay. Hi, David. David.
What's up, man? Repass. Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Yeah, Penn is trash, guys.
No.
Okay, I'm hiding my screen. So they can't see us, Penn. I'm hiding my screen so they can't see us.
I'm not. Guys, look at my screen.
You know, guys, before we join, I'm just gonna gift 5 random members. Oh wait, can I do it? Yeah. I'm just gifting 5 members. Be in stream so you guys have a chance to get the members and get the member streams. Okay, I just gift 5. Those are all the members I can gift. Let's see who's gonna get them.
Give me some, please.
Z King, Mohawk, Ash, Who, and Optimus. W to the people who got it. I'm sorry if you didn't get it. Penn, go here, but don't say it out loud. What's up, Adrian? Welcome to stream.
Snooty Steps. I love that place.
Oh shoot, I'm gonna have the alert playing for so long. And members, if you guys just become a member, I will write all your guys' name, don't worry, on the wall after this game or after the stream. I'll be writing all your guys' name on the wall. Still looking for 1 member of the stream to fill the member goal. Let's see if we can get it.
I can go get my mommy's credit card.
I got you, Fortnite kid. You should go get your mommy's credit card. I'm just playing. Guys, do not take your mom's credit card, please.
Do it.
I don't want to be responsible for that. You my favorite birthday? Thank you very much, Ask. Thank you very much. Congrats. W.
Mr. Gam. Wait, is Dongos in the chat?
No, Dingos is not.
Why not?
Why do you call him Donglos?
It's Dongos, bro.
I don't really know if it's Donglos, but it might just be me.
Dongos. No,
I will W Fortnite kid. W, man.
Ah!
Penn, don't die. Please don't die.
I'm getting shot at by the freaking turret. Should we go push these people right here?
No, I don't have any shields. Don't push. Wait, I have overshield. Never mind.
Overshield, yeah.
I'm down to push. I have no clue how to play 0 build. I can't join. I'm sorry, Fortnite kid. Hopefully you can get to the next one, man. Hopefully you can get to the next one. The super welcome stream. It's your birthday? W, man. Happy birthday.
Come up here.
Hope you're having a great birthday. Penn, you want to sing the Super Kid 333 happy birthday?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Super Kid. Happy birthday to you.
Hope you guys, Super Kid, hope you're having a great birthday.
I don't know if it's on purpose, but we can't see your screen in the stream.
I just unhid it. Like, I just did.
You did?
It should. Beautiful singing voice. David just said you have a beautiful singing voice.
Thank you, David. That's why you're my favorite David.
Better than Mariah Carey. Okay. Thank you for the subscribing,
I
Craig.
get that a lot.
What's up, Tank? Welcome to the stream. All right, let's fight.
Wait, you wanna go take out boss real quick? I call gun.
I call my alien.
Actually, no, I'm planning on taking both.
Sure, let's fight boss. Let's fight boss. No, not real kid. Oh, I got a sniper. I got a sniper. I'm him. I'm him. I have to go. Good luck on the rest of customs. No problem, Dizzy. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you guys today, and I'll see you next time. What's up, Ben? What's up, Adrian? Welcome to the stream. I just missed my snipe on the boss. Kill him before he gets a shield. Kill him. Penny's one.
You can't kill him completely whenever he gets the shield.
You can't?
No. No. He hit me. Wait, did you make the?
Oh shoot! Happy birthday! Yes, everyone wish him happy
Drop
birthday.
gun.
Drop medallion.
Oh wait, here, let me get a 50 shield real quick.
Why do we pick up the opposite ones?
I don't know.
You're the best. Thank you very much, the super. Hope you're having a great birthday, man. Kids. Why am I farming? Drop me down. I need it.
Okay. You drop. Oh, kids here. Go. Get here.
Why are we going to the vault? That's stupid. My game crash. I'm done. Oh, I'm sorry, Aqua. What's up, Aubrey? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Can I play F Gamer? Anyone can play. All you guys gotta do is be on Fortnite to play. And the new members, I will write all you guys' name on the wall of legends after this. Pen, did you know if you become a member, I'll put my name on your wall. I mean, I'll put your name on my wall. No. I'll put your name on my wall.
Watch out. Oh, they took clusters. They missed.
Oh shoot!
Wait, one of them's
I knocked one. It's press. I knocked one.
They're dead. They're both dead.
I killed them both with clingers.
No way.
Press. Oh, GG's press. GG's.
Dance on them.
Nah, it's flex. My one crown went on him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have two. Never mind. I'm him. Cluster clingers are insane. GG's press. GG's. I'm pressed. The clingers got you. Can I play? Yes, the super. Anyone can play. All you guys do is be on Fortnite for the next game. That's all you guys got to do is be on Fortnite. I need a medkit somewhere. What are you shooting at?
Your mom.
Kid.
Drop it down.
There's kids. GG's PG. PG, was that you, man? Was that you? Oh, medkit right here. I'm taking a med right now.
I need it.
That's my shotgun. Protect me.
I'm building.
Pen. Mr. Gamer, want to get killed? Nah, I want to fight you though, Dylan. 860. Cracked. He's one. Nice.
Dead. Hit him for 6 and he died.
Bro.
A little bit of a kill steal.
Oh, I 200'd him. James, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Wait, that was a different team.
What's up, He? Welcome to the stream. Your friend on Sports, welcome to the stream. He, hope you're having a great day. Welcome over on Twitch. If you guys want to follow our Twitch, the link is in the description.
Do you have a med kit over? You have a big pot, right?
I do a big pot. James, I'm sorry. I just 200'd you, man. I'm sorry. Kid.
Who is pushing?
Why they're so? It's because they're getting stream sniped. But we're him at 0 build, Pen.
You're like Nico 30.
Nick
Can I
030.
get copyrighted for that?
No, Pen. You can't get copyrighted for anything you say. It can just be songs. Thank you for thank you for stopping by, Mr. Hat. Hope you have a good day, man.
Whoever this is in a freaking Fortnite trailer.
Where?
I saw Kyle's flip.
Merry Early Christmas to you too, Dizzy. I'm an artist. Nice F games.
So, Mr. Gamer,
yes.
what are you asking for Christmas?
I'm asking for 7,000 V-Bucks. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm asking for a lot of baseball stuff. Kid. Somewhere. Don't know where. Yeah, fight him. Fight him. Let's go.
I have a grappler and a grapple blade.
We'll see, Press. I think I'm just gonna get a random duo. A random trio. Oh, 88 on him. He's weak. He's one knocked.
I'm flanking.
Oh, he's on me. Behind. Turn around. He's weak. Just kidding, he's not weak at all. Cracked.
22 blue.
He's one. One, Pen, one. Actually one. Fitty white on him.
I can't build. Whoa, this kid's weak. Got him.
This guy's one. There we go.
That was a good teammate.
Let's go, we're him.
I sprayed the shields.
I'm there, W, Ben. Wait, where'd my others?
That was really good. You're carrying me right now.
I'm him at 0 build. Why do I not play competitive zero?
Razor in the chat. Razor, that game did not count.
Why do I not play competitive 0 build? Why I should become a 0 build warrior.
No, you shouldn't.
Yes, I should. You're good. Thank you very much, Super. Yes, I should. I'm so good at 0 build. Okay, I'm getting to Unreal in 0 build, guys. I'm getting to Unreal. I'm spectating you W. Absolutely stupid.
He is not getting off till he gets it.
Yeah, I started at bronze and I'm getting Unreal in 0 build. Can I medallion?
There's literally like a freaking medallion sitting here. I just picked one up.
Can I have one? Just drop one. Well,
I have 2. My bad. Oh,
Bro,
wait.
I am going to become a pro zero build player, I'm telling you. How old is my friend? 28. Oh, where's...
No, I turned 28 yesterday. I'm 32 now.
My fault. Pen, oh, I need this med. I need this med.
Wait, who asked? How old am I?
Pen, but there's another one. There's another one. It's mine now.
Nice. Nice.
Hi Ben,
Mr.
Front Yard
Gamer,
Sports. Welcome to the
everyone.
stream. I've been pretty good. How you been, man? Hey, give me that. Give me that bag. Give me that bag. Pen, let's go fight people because we're him at 0 build. Bro, Spectating you W, Mr. Roast. You W Aubrey, welcome to the stream.
I think I'm breaking the car.
Kid.
No, it's not.
In car.
I missed.
105. I'm shockwaving.
Laser the car.
They hopped out, but I don't have anything to hide behind.
Crack, no shield.
Nice. That's teamwork right there. See how I ran behind that rock? I should be a 0 build demon. What's up, Jimmy? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Bro, I'm taking on competitive 0 build. I could get earnings with this. I'm telling you. That's my car, W, Ben. Oh, that's your car, Rap. I got you. GG's, Mohawk, GG's. I'm back. Welcome back, that girl. Welcome back, Jima. Where?
Right here. Ah, I'm getting lasered.
Pen, you gotta hide by something. You gotta be a pro. Oh, he's on roof. 88. I'm cracked.
No shield on him.
I'm taking a big. Real fast. Another one coming.
46 white.
Cracked one. One. Nice. Other ones underneath. Running out. Pushing you. Cracked him. Let's go. Pen. You want to take on competitive 0 build with me?
Honestly?
It's actually fun.
Maybe.
I'm down, bro. We're actually a good duo.
Do you have a big pot? Do a big pot?
Yeah, we're a good duo in this, bro.
Or try to go buy one. Oh, thank you.
We're good at hiding behind stuff.
Oh, wait. I almost just wasted it.
I didn't. What's up, official Luke? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Pen, we are. How much gold do you have?
Wait, Spencer, I have to do it. Oh, wait, I can't build. No. I was gonna build my L.
I'm back. Welcome back, Jima. When you accept in front of us at the end of the stream, Mr. Rose. Pen, we're taking on competitive 0 build and we're gonna get to Unreal and we're gonna play in tournaments. Okay.
Okay.
Telling you right now.
Chat, W's or L's if you would like to see that.
We're definitely gonna like.
Chat.
We're definitely horrible,
Chat.
but we're just saying we're good. All right, Teveeel left, Pen.
Spencer,
Yes.
if you can read your chat.
Next game, if you kill Pen, you owe me 1 cent. If I kill you and Pen, I owe you 1 cent. Sounds good. I'm still alive, W, Aiden. I actually like 0 build. I actually like it. It's weird. This is my first time I've ever played. Can I join you for the squads or trios? We're just gonna probably play with a random guy, me, Pen, and a random guy. I got kicked. I'm sorry. Aw, you good, the super. Hope you join up the next one though. I'm ready for a W, boys. Let's go, F Gamer. Hope you can get the dub, man.
Is that a kid? No, it's not a person. There's only 9 people left.
I know. We have 10 limbs total.
I have 5. You got 5. Hey, check out for this. Hey, this cash right here.
I need
where you
some.
going?
I need a med kit.
I was about to say, if you need mobility, I have a grapple and a grapple.
I have 4 shockwaves. I have good mobility. T, I think I'm better at 0 build than Battle Royale. I might be too.
All you gotta do is just plug in a controller. That's it. That's what I'm doing.
I'm
like
him.
ambidextrous though. You see me play on like.
You're ambidextrous. No, you're
right?
not. Ambidextrous.
No, ambidextrous. Like ambidextrous is like right-handed and left-handed.
You
I'm
can.
like control. I'm
you're not-
controller and PC.
You're not. Oh, we need this.
I promise. I am. Get off, please.
I'm ready. Let's go, F Gamer. Make sure you guys get on Fortnite so you can join up the next custom, guys. You guys are just joining. That's what we're doing.
Spencer, if you farm, it goes faster.
No, that's not true. Kid. What the heck? What the?
What is he doing?
Beamed?
Watch this.
It's Razor. It's Razor. He's
I missed?
or it's Dizzy. It's Razor or Dizzy.
Here, keep going cash. Keep getting cash.
They can aim good. Don't worry. Whoever it is, they can aim good. Yo, Joseph, welcome back to the stream, the super. Mister, welcome back.
Oh yeah,
back.
you're really gonna have to take a big med kit from this place.
Yeah.
Or this thing, whatever spot. I really don't know what it is.
It's Razor. Oh, I got you. Absolutely stupid. Give me the
There you go.
med. I'll carry these bigs.
I'm not carrying any heals. I'm gonna carry these minis.
I'm taking a big pot out in the open. Don't let anyone snipe me.
Sit down by the fire.
I'm new. What is up, Krabby? Welcome to the stream. If you're new, we stream 4 days a week and post kits every single day. Hope you enjoy them. All right, 8 people left. 8 people left, Ben. We're popping off.
My bestie and your bestie.
Where are they? Where
go
are
up
they?
here, go up here, go up here, go up here.
I'm ready. W Fortnite kid. You killed Razor? Did you actually? Bro, Aiden killed Razor. Aiden's. Oh my gosh, Razor. I think Aiden's just better.
What happened?
Razor. Aiden's just better than Razor, guys. I think that settles it.
Oh, you don't need it anymore. It's proven.
If I stand,
oh, wait, is that a kid sniping?
look, if I stand on it, now I need it.
Ah.
I killed Dizzy W, Brayden.
I
Hey,
killed
Aiden, you're
5
him.
people, but their names are irrelevant. So we're good.
Aiden's him. Pen, did you see earlier in the stream, Aiden reached our first person to watch my stream for 100 hours? It's actually insane. 100 hours is crazy.
I think I have like.
Oh shoot! This got cracked. This got cracked. I don't know from where.
Right there, right there. On my marker, on my marker.
What's up, Johnny? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day.
Oh, they're teaming. It's more than one kid, I'm pretty sure.
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay, well, someone's rushing. Someone's running. Follow me, follow me, follow me. Follow me if you want to live.
Hold up, I'm gonna headshot snipe him. Shoot, I missed. Good evening, good evening, One Doge. I'm sorry if you get me a member. W Mohawk, you can come to the member streams now. W. If you guys do want to become a member, you can do exclamation mark member. Who are you playing with? I'm playing with Pen right now, and we're just doing customs.
Nice clusters.
Bro, he just missed us by so much. Cracked. One. Knocked. Oh my gosh, Pen, we're so good. You just gotta hide behind something. That's all you need to do. What's up, Santa Joe? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day.
Head. Oh my god, these kids were loaded. Oh my goodness.
Let me get some.
Holy crap balls.
Oh my gosh, my loot is insane.
You can have that mythic. Yeah, I got you.
That wasn't a mythic, but yeah.
The mythic drum?
No,
Oh,
it wasn't a mythic. It wasn't a
I
mythic.
still have it.
I'm always in your live stream. Is W Dagger. I appreciate it. Good evening,
Take my-
One
do you
Doge.
have a purple sniper? You have a purple sniper?
I do. You're new. Well, welcome to the stream, Santa Joe. Oh, what kids? Hope you're enjoying the stream.
I'm coming up.
Kids that way
Okay,
somewhere. I'm taking a big pot right here. Hopefully I don't get headshot sniped.
I got you. I'm doing the stinky in the open.
What am I supposed to do? Build? I watched for 73 hours. I don't really know, Bryn. If you do top hours, you can see the top hours,
watched
guys.
all
Exclamation
3.
top hours. Shout my name out. My name's
Wait,
Jacob.
Aiden-
Shout out to Jacob.
Aiden's up. Nice ball damage.
Thank you. Another day, another victory for the OGs, of course.
Another
Bro,
day.
beam them. I'm sniping them.
For the OGs. Wait, where are they?
It's a duo.
Where?
I'm gonna join and then probably dot spawn. Hey, that's a good one, Doge. What's up, Gigabean? Welcome to the stream. Well, I actually like
Yeah,
zero
honestly,
build.
let's just stay where we are. Stay where we are. 'Cause we're gonna
Gliding over us. Actually, no, they're not. I don't know why I thought they were.
What are these call outs?
My fault.
Don't lie.
What's up, F Gamer? Welcome. Shout out to
Spectating, yeah.
Shout out to Brennett. It's my birthday. Happy birthday, Jacob. Hope you're having a great day, man.
We had a lot of birthdays in the chat apparently.
I know. Maybe it's just like people want.
Is it the same kid saying it over and over again?
Maybe it's just like people want like free ice cream, you know, and they're just like saying it. How do I join? All you gotta do is be on Fortnite. You can join up. There's definitely kids up there. The video's never much that girl.
No.
Did you just snipe randomly at it? They rifted. Yeah, they are. They're up there. No, they're not.
Oh, someone has rifted while they were not.
Oh, he did. He's knocked. Push this.
Wait, I have a question. How many spectators do you have right now?
3. Push this.
Wait, be careful. We don't have anything to cover.
I don't see them.
What are you shooting at?
The rock. I think they're behind it.
They might be in this porta bunker.
Oh yeah, they definitely are. 74th like. If you guys are enjoying stream, consider liking. Means a lot.
BK4 left. Thank you for
Pen,
spectating me.
get behind this tree. Get this behind this tree.
No, go circle.
I don't have anything to cover.
My marker. Go my marker.
I have a shockwave though, so I'm good. What's up, I show speed. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a great day. What is your YouTube channel? It's Mr. Gamer.
I see a kid.
Where?
I miss. Knocked.
Pen, we're the best zero build duo in the entire world. Oh, I just missed the 9.
Are you shooting at me?
No.
Okay.
Pen, we're such a good duo, dude. I'm telling you. What's up, famix? Welcome to the stream. How we doing? Hope you're having a great day. It's been a bit. How are you doing, man? Hope you're having a great day. I don't need any of that.
I hope someone just watched that snipe. That was okay, kind of.
Actual speed is live. Nice. You oh, Fortnite player. He just said he sniped you.
Getting shot at.
Where? From where?
From there, I guess.
From here.
That direction. Oh no, on me.
Cracked. There we go.
Dead.
Pen.
I think he forgot.
We are him.
We are actually insane.
Hey, Z King, you got member. You got gifted member while you were. I don't know if you saw it, but you got gifted a member. I gifted 5 random members, and you got one of them. What's up, Kamado? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Oh, Aiden. Aiden, you killed Aiden.
Canadians are weird. I'm kidding. I love Canadians.
I said Aiden. You said you killed Aiden. It's a 2v2 pattern.
Shout out Canadians. Y'all real ones for real.
What's up, Jen? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? 2v2. What do you want for Christmas? All I want for Christmas
Gliding.
is you.
Are they landing on us? I can't see them.
Where are they? Oh, they're above us, like way above us. Oh, I missed.
I hit it for 116 out of the air.
Did you actually?
I hit it. I promise.
Oh, I almost sniped
It didn't crack him though.
Oh, W, Zeking. I appreciate it. Oh, yeah, well, it's because it's overshield.
Someone just watched me snipe him out of the air.
Push, bro, push.
No, but wait, stay here. We're in circle.
Do you have a crown?
Me? Yeah.
Okay, because I got the crown notification. I was like, was that you? Be right back, I got you. No, Aiden, I'm warming up. W, Fortnite kid.
I didn't mean to
What
shoot.
the?
That was me. My bad.
That was not me.
Whoa! Someone just blinked me in the face.
I love you, amazing inspiration. Thank you very much, Dagger. I
Why are you
appreciate it.
farming?
I don't know. Thank you for the sub, Soccer, MG Classy, and Sanaja. Pen, get in this corn, and then we have so much cover. Or there's like crops. Oh, I'm sorry, Razor. A big lump of knobs. It has the juice.
Whoa, be quiet. Wait, come here.
Did you get members out? I did win. I did gift members.
I threw you a that was a dime. Oh my god.
I don't even need that.
Well, take it.
It doesn't do anything.
Take your roids.
Where are they?
You come on now, Mr. Game will give you each 1,000 V-Bucks.
No, I will not. That is not true. How many more people? It's a 2v2. I will not give you guys any more V-Bucks if you guys come out. Don't worry. What's up, Banjos? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Kamado, welcome. Messi or Ronaldo all day.
See, Canada, I told you.
Ronaldo all day. On me. In this bush. I'm gonna snipe randomly in the bush and see if I hit him. Oh, I knocked him!
Oh,
bro, no shot. I said I was gonna snipe.
Crazy.
I headshot sniped him. Oh, there's another one. 200.
You're crazy, Spencer.
Let's
Oh
go.
Emo
W.
with me. You're bestie.
Sitting by the fire.
Your bestie, 71 by these. You got me make it flames go higher. Talking about
Alright, guys. Alright. We're gonna do another custom. This one is gonna be trios build. Me and Pen are gonna ready up as duos, and we're just gonna like see what happens. So if you guys want to join this, all you guys gotta do, scroll down. I want you to go ahead and find Battle Royale, which is right here. Change the mode to trios. Phil will be on. Go down to the custom key. Type in the custom key, which I will tell you guys in 1 second, and then ready up. That is all you guys need to do to join. And the custom key. Ready up, Pen, ready up real fast. What's up, Unstoppable Brothers? Welcome to the stream. Anyone can join. Let's see how many people can get in this. Let's see if we make 40 people for the last custom, guys. What's up, the kid? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? It is a stretch. I know it is. Let's make sure. Okay, the code is 1111, guys. 1111. Everybody join up. 1111 is the code. You're good. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. 1111 is the code. Someone type it in the stream so I can pin it. 1111 is the code. Scroll down, type it right here in this custom key, and then ready up. It is trios build. Trios build, guys. Phil. 1111.
Just check it real quick.
Okay. I got you.
I'm telling you, bro, you're getting it.
I'm in. Make sure you guys all get in. Everybody join up. Everyone join up. What's up, Prince? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? It is build, guys. It is build. Miss Gamer, can I be in trail? Me and Pen are just gonna get a random. Miss Gamer, we're just gonna get a random person. I'm from Roblox. W Prince WW. Are you on full? Yes, we are on Phil. We are on Phil. We are on Phil. Everybody join up. Everyone join up. We're gonna give you guys around 3 more minutes. All you gotta do is scroll down, custom key 1111. If you guys don't have a partner, you can already have a solo. Or if you guys have 2 friends that aren't in the stream but you're solo, invite them. Play some trio scrims. Let's get it. Anyone can join. What region? NA East. You guys invite your friends, guys. Invite all your friends.
I don't get how it says the poll has 101 votes, but there's only 44 people in the stream.
Because people vote and then leave, big dog.
That's cheating.
That's.
Who cheats in a freaking YouTube poll?
It's not cheating. What do you mean it's cheating?
That is crazy.
What do you mean it's cheating?
Oh, you got another friend request. Are you gonna accept it?
I'll accept all friend requests at the end of the stream, guys. Don't worry. I can't believe I'm on
Press
YouTube.
press.
W, super. W. We're gonna start
on
around 2
YouTube.
minutes, guys. We're gonna start around 2 minutes.
Mom.
Everyone join. It's not working.
I'm
It
on
is.
YouTube.
Fortnite kid. Trios Phil ranked ready up, and the code is 1111 in this custom key thing. 1111 ready up. We have 28 people in this, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Pen, we are becoming zero mode warriors after that game.
Facts.
We were actually
I had,
popping off.
I think I had 8 kills.
I had 7. We were him.
I got a lot of people. Razor. I got a lot of people requesting.
We'll see, Famix. We'll see. We'll see. NA East, guys.
Mr.
NA East.
LQ Archer. Are we gonna do another after party after the stream like we did last time?
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
We should. That'd be sick. That'd be sick.
I have to go after the stream a lot though. Right after.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah, Pen will host the after party. Just friend 5 cub and join his party after stream.
I got you. You can literally send a phone request now. I got one.
I'm in now, Doe.
That's
Before that
it.
kid, everybody
That's
join up.
ready.
You guys don't even need a partner. Just join up. We're gonna start in around a minute. Fast and show. This used to be normal trios, guys. Normal
The after
trios.
party is literally just like zone wars and stuff. That's it. That's literally it.
Normal trios, guys. That's all we're gonna be doing. If you guys are enjoying stream, consider liking the stream. Means a lot. Means a lot if you do.
And it's first one first serve for whoever gets in. Don't expect like a big actual party.
Pen, there's gonna be soda. Yeah,
There's gonna be
we're gonna
balloons.
Pen's gonna give you guys his address, and you guys are gonna join up.
I'll give you guys Mr. Gamer's phone number.
Wait.
Chat W's or L's for Mr. Gamer's phone number.
What's up, Tristan? Welcome to the stream, man. I do hope you're having a great day. Welcome. All right, we're gonna start in 30
I'm
seconds, guys.
accepting
30 seconds.
I'm accepting a lot of
My bestie
actually, I
and
just got
your
a party
bestie.
invite.
Did you actually?
Yeah, we're good.
If he joins, he ruins it. Hello, you're my favorite each birthday. Very much, Freddie. I appreciate that.
Guys,
Favorite
love
color?
it.
What is a cat's favorite color? I don't know. What is a cat's favorite color?
Purple.
Pen lives on the moon.
I actually live on Mars. I moved the other day.
What's up, dude? Welcome to the stream. Where is snow? There's snow a lot of places, mainly up north. We're gonna go ahead and start, guys.
We don't have snow.
Who is gonna be me and Pen's trio partner? Let's see. You're welcome.
Like the
Let's
one
go.
trio where we don't have like an actual trio.
No, there's 34 people.
I'm getting a lot of invites right now. I don't know how you do it.
So yeah, there's gonna be one. There's gonna be either two duos who don't have a trio or one solo. Pen lives in Ohio. Ooh, he does. Oh,
I lived in Ohio like yesterday.
come on, give us a trio,
The super 330, and it's actually a sponge.
bro. Give us a trio,
We
please.
don't have a trio.
Give us a trio. We can't be the only one.
Chat, if we don't have a trio, we're ending stream now.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
What's up, Christmas vibes? Welcome to the stream. No shot, bro. There's 14 teams.
And we don't even have. We don't have a team.
14 times.
Wait,
14
someone
times
dance with me.
3.
Someone dance with me, please. Someone please
We
dance
didn't
with
get
me,
one.
please.
We didn't get a trio.
Someone dance with me, please.
What's
Please.
up? What's up?
Someone
What
dance
up,
with me,
my
please.
bros? Welcome to the stream. I
Please.
didn't hope you're having a great
Someone
day.
dance with me, please.
Pen, we did not get a trio. What the heck?
Alright, go on there. Random question from Maggie.
It was on Phil,
Alright,
wasn't
go.
it on Phil? Yeah, it was on Phil.
I think. Actually, wait, was it?
No, it was on Phil. All right, Pen, I'm hiding my screen, so don't say where we're going.
Maggie Gabby.
We're putting on our full talk, guys, because I like the full talk. What do you want for Xmas? I just want a lot of baseball stuff. You're right, Pen. We should go reckless Rays.
Actually, I say we land at Spawn Island. Mrs. Maggie Gabby.
What's up, Manic?
I'm
Welcome to
sorry.
the stream. I do
Not
hope you're having a
letting
great
you
day. Welcome.
Cannot let you join.
All right, guys. Let's see
I'm
who's gonna
scared
win
my
this
class.
custom. My mic's like fitty.
My leg's literally like 50 with a $50. You can't,
What's it?
you can't pronounce the second F.
What? Mike's like fit. Must fit.
50.
We did a Nick A30 and Mr. Gamer collab. We do. What's up, Nate Shorts? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day.
Mr. Gamer and Fortnite collab.
We do.
Mr. Gamer
Give me an
icon
icon skin, bro, and it better have Midas
Gotta be
touch on
mini
it.
Becca.
It better have Midas touch on it. Land that space.
Mini Pekka. Am I gonna get copyrighted for saying mini Pekka?
Pat. Yes.
No. I'm sorry, you're paying it, not me.
My bestie.
Do we have any Clash Royale players in the chat though?
Clash Royale's a W game. You do need an icon skin, Freddy Fazbear. That's what I'm talking about.
Someone was in the chat spamming for Eddie Fastballs earlier.
Read my comment in the super. I'm sorry, man. I must have missed it. Can you type it again, man? It wouldn't let me join. Oh, I'm sorry, that girl, Maggie. I'm sorry. Pen, there's a kid on me.
No, there's not.
He just threw a present. Yes, there is. He's right here. Missed my 200 on him.
He's weak. Got him.
Oh, I just.
I'm taking him back. What are you doing?
My bestie and your bestie sitting by.
You want to emote? Gotcha.
No, that emote actually is copyrighted. I'm gonna join Dobie. What
Actually.
Yeah, it is. Are you?
That's crazy.
I 1v1 Pen earlier, and I won a few, but he won most. Yeah, well, Pen's pretty good at the game.
Ooh. Oh wait, who was that?
That was that one Doge. Wait, I'm a member? Who you are a member? You got gifted a member. I gifted 5 random members, and you're one of them.
Gabby, bro.
And members, I'm gonna write all you guys' name on the wall at the end of stream, guys. Don't worry. I'm gonna write all you guys. I mean, after stream, I'm gonna write all you guys' name. You are a member. Who you are?
Dibs. Oh.
Your bestie kid.
Kid.
Peter Griffin. Oh, it's not Peter Griffin. 38.
Peter Griffin. Jesus Christ, Peter Griffin. That was a really tough opponent. Peter Griffin. Wow.
Let's go. I didn't realize W. Freddy Fazbear, that's my brother? Freddy Fazbear's your brother. What?
Like the character? Like your friend, you know Freddy Fazbear?
What? No way. When does the stream end? We'll probably be ending stream. The Super 330. We'll probably be ending soon.
Who's excited for the after party?
What's up? What's up, Kirby? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a good day. I will not be attending the after party because I have to actually go eat dinner. I gotta get my calories in. What am I having tonight?
He's got a date.
Yeah, I have a date.
There's kids on me.
There's kids on me too? Oh, we're right next to each other.
No, there's literally not.
24 white, beamed him. Oh, it's James.
I'm dead.
Where'd you just take damage? Give me my crown. Where is he? They're in the bush. Beamed him in the bush. That's sniping the. One of them's white. Like really white. 80 white on one of them. That's sniping the.
Cracked one. No shield.
Pointed for 65 white. They're all whited. Whited all of them. Whited all 3 of them. They just chucked. They're all whited, Pat.
No, I'm dead. No. It's you not 4. He tried to fall.
No. How do we lose that? It's because we didn't have a trio.
Shout, we're blaming that on y'all. We're ending stream now.
You got time. No, we're not.
Oh,
You come in twice.
GG's
James.
GG's
James. GG's. We'll see.
We gotta play again. We gotta get a teammate. So. Mr. Gamer, how's your day going?
My day's going pretty good. But I have to leave. No problem. Super 300. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you guys today, and I will see you next time. I'm here with James. Nice. No, he's got to put everyone's name at the end. I did. See ya. Oh, something. I don't know what I'm reading right now. What's up, Boss Joe? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day.
I'm literally throwing a party.
Wait, Pen, should I just like be in your lobby then?
Sure.
So that
give out some verbal autographs.
I'll be on your party, turn my party on public, and then just leave, and you'll just get so many people joining. I'm gonna go, no problem, Boss Joe. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you guys see it, and I'll see you next time. If you guys just joined, we're playing customs. Make sure you guys get on Fortnite so you can join. Let's go. Can you give me a shout out to Mr. Rush Reaction? There's 24 people left in this trios game. Me and Pen, unfortunately, we weren't able to clutch up.
We're literally still alive, bro.
We should have won that, bro. That was kind of unfortunate.
The guy that killed me was at 4.
I whited all 3 of them, but they were all different.
What is bro cranking?
He's him. Okay, I'm going to spectate Razor.
Wait, where's Razor?
I don't know. I'm just gonna switch.
Mr. Gamer is putting a 500 V-Buck bounty on Razor.
No, I'm not. You know what? Yes, I am. If you kill Razor's team, YouTube Razor, Mr. Mythic, and Press, whoever gets the last kill on their team will get it. So you have to kill Razor's team. I'm spectating them. You guys should stream snipe them. 500 bounty, and whoever kills the last person alive on Razor's team. It's Razor, Press, and Mr. Mythic. 500 bounty. They're in Grand Glacier. You guys can watch the stream and stream snipe them. I imagine get in the chat. What's up, Maniac? Welcome to the stream. Noel Plug. How you doing? Hope you having a great day. Are you good? I'm alright. I'm alright.
I'm better.
Make sure you guys stream snipe him, guys. I'm putting a bounty on his team.
Oh, I found him. I will give you a personal congratulations if you kill them.
What's up, Coyote? Welcome to the stream. Did you put a bounty, Coyote? Welcome to the stream. I did. Thank you for this follow, by the way, everyone. Thank you for the follow on Twitch, Coyote. I put a bounty on this team in my customs right now. If you want to join up, just hop on Fortnite.
Y'all know how it feels. Y'all know how it feels to get targeted by the entire lobby, having 13 people spectating you. The pressure.
I'm the Alpha Coyote. Nice, Coyote. Well, if you kill YouTube Razor, Mr. Mythic, or Press, you will be getting 500 V-Bucks because there's a bounty on him. You less YouTuber. Thank you very much, Mr. Super. I appreciate it. Hey, Press, you got to win now. You're getting targeted. What's up, Who? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. You've already been in stream, though, Who? Did you do the member Vic giveaway? I did, Victor. I did, unfortunately, already do it. My bestie and your bestie.
Whoa, it's copyrighted.
Well, I can sing it. It's just the actual songs played.
Wait, can I sing it?
Sure.
Okay.
Who, I would just say to be consistent, man, is what you should do. What's your name? My name is Spencer. You guys can be Spencer, Mr. Gamer, Pro Fortniter, Best Fortniter, whatever you guys want. Uncle Jay, because why not? Can you give me something? Unfortunately not, Mr. Roast. You're lagging for me? Oh, I'm sorry, Super. Might just be your internet, because I'm pretty good right now for me.
The walking, talking ukulele.
I'm dead. Oh, I'm sorry. What up, my bros? That's unfortunate, man. Hopefully you can win the next one, though. Thank you for the sub, Patrick Bader, man. I appreciate it.
Tactical Fishy, are you in the chat right now?
Tactical Fishy. Me and Aiden just died. GG's, Braden. Guys, stream snipe him. Stream snipe him. You got him. Please. Kill Razor, Mythic, and Press. I'll join next game. I got you, Nate. I got you. This might be the last one, though, Nate, unfortunately, because we've been already playing for around 2 hours.
Should I subscribe to Mr. Gamer?
Yeah, Penn is not subscribed, actually. Oh, Razor's dead. No shot. Razor's knocked. Kill their team, please. Please get him. Please get him. Please get him. Sleep stream? A sleep stream? No shot. What's up, Jackson? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Hope you guys are having a great day right now. My bestie and your bestie.
Sit down by the fire. Can
I join your party? Aiden, at the end of stream, I'll let you join my party because you can do the outro and because you did reach 100 hours, which is actually crazy. So I'll let you do the outro. Because Aiden's him, guys. Aiden's him.
Didn't Aiden win like a thing earlier?
What do you mean?
He has like a schedule.
Oh, kill Mr. Mythic. Who killed Mr. Mythic? Tank 1, 2. Balkan, it was Balkan. Balkan got him. Balkan killed Mr. Mythic. Balkan was the winner. Balkan.
Wait, they're not fully dead. Wait, are they fully dead?
Yeah, they are. Congratulations, Balkan.
Razor, stop complaining.
Balkan, I forgot who you are. You're over on Twitch, though. I forgot what your epic name is. Yo, here, YT sucks, so let's go. Guys, after the stream, get on Twitch, because I want to raid someone on Twitch. Just letting you guys know,
Should I go live on Twitch so you can raid me?
No.
Hey guys, I actually have an outstanding 0 followers.
Pen, hop on the Twitch stream though. I want to raid someone, but I need like 4 viewers to do it because I have like 1 on Twitch.
Yeah. We don't get 10 people on Mr. Gamer's what's it called?
Twitch.
Wait,
Balkan, what's your name in the stream, man? What's your name in the stream? Let me know, Balkan again, because I kind of forgot. I'll remember it when I see it, but I just forgot. So if you guys, I don't know if Twitch, that's okay, Mr. Ross, that's okay. Yo, what's up, Psycho? Welcome to the stream chat with some Twitch chat. Let's go. W's. Is this your last game? We will have to see. Absolutely. This most likely will be though. Okay, guys. Hope you guys can stick to the end because we're gonna have a W outro by Aiden.
And where are we gonna?
Aiden is a member. You know who isn't a member though? This kid named Penn. He's a weirdo. I'm fine. What's up, Ultimate? Penn, did you know we could reach our member goal if you just go take your mom's credit card? I'm not encouraging that, guys. Do not go take your mom's credit card.
He's encouraging me! Help me!
What rank? I'm Diamond 1.
Nate Shorts, I am sorry, but Mr. Gamer is a busy man. He has a date tonight with a little guy named Minecraft.
I do not.
That's not that out of my butt. I do not know what I'm saying.
You said I had a date tonight with Minecraft? What the? Yeah, Victor, the bot's a little glitched right now. I'll look at it though. I'll look at it. It's a little glitched. I'll try to fix the commands, man. I'll try to fix the commands. Mom, can I have your credit card?
I think he called you mom.
I don't know. Gotta go, no problem, Brayden. Thank you for stopping by, man. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Balkan.
No.
Who are you, Balkan, in the stream? Let me know, Balkan. I need to know. What's up, Toby? Welcome to the stream. I can just gift you. I know who you are. I'll just give you something with 500 V-Bucks. Hold up. Set a timer for 1 hour to gift Balkan. I got you, Balkan. When this timer goes off, I'm gifting you something with 500 V-Bucks. Stream Elements is better than Streamlabs? Yeah, I like Stream Elements better. We're going to win a fashion show. Hey, and it's just going to get griefed, man. And this is probably going to be our last game because we haven't streamed for around 2 hours. I think it's just going to make griefed Aiden if we do.
Do the L right now.
My best. Yeah, Victor, Stream Elements must be bugging if all the commands are broken. I'll look at it. You stole me 1,000? Felix, I gifted you 1,000, man. I don't really remember Famex. That has been a long time ago, Famex. I gifted everyone who owed it, so I might have gifted it to the wrong person, like, honestly. Ethan, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Welcome.
Nate Shorts, I do not know what you were trying to achieve.
Razor, guys, I don't think I can do one more game, unfortunately, guys. I don't think I can. I have dinner. And I don't have a date. I just have dinner. Pen's lying.
Dinner date. It's a dinner date.
I mean, like, if you want to say it's that. No, I'm just playing. When we do a stream together, I'm going to stream at the pay time, WA, and I'll put your at, and hopefully you can get some followers there, man. Too bad, one more. I can't miss my dinner, bro. I can't. What are you having for dinner? I don't even know. I just have to make a video before dinner, so that's mainly, because I haven't even made a video today, guys. Yeah, shouldn't
Mr. Gamer let me in a video?
Guys, what are you guys having for dinner? Let me know what you guys are having. I'm gonna do the same. W, Aiden. W. Rickroll? Nope, not yet. Victor. I keep forgetting. I have a lot of stuff I need to do, guys. What's up, Yo-Yo Land? Welcome to the stream. Are you done eating out? I'm not eating out, but I just like eating with my family.
I actually missed
pasta? You having pasta? W, absolutely. One more food. If I had food, I could stream for 10 hours, I'm telling you.
Oh my god, Tank's crazy. Spectating, you should be honored because I actually missed a Longhorn to be on the stream.
I should do a subathon. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Should not.
I got another friend of us. Falcon for real. Please stop it.
Can you spectate? Right now I'm spectating Tank, but we'll switch around our spectates. We'll switch it around. Pasta, you having pork? Nice, Bug. Nice. Pork is pretty good. I like pork. Oh, we're spectating Balkan. We're spectating Balkan.
I think it's having pork.
Pork. Please stop spamming, guys. Please stop spamming.
He's actually having 4 pieces of pork.
Bro, I'm couch spamming. My man is getting tapped. Yo, couch potato. I love couch potato. Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Couch spamming was a W duo earlier. One more game? Duh. We'll see. I don't think we're going to be able to.
16, no scope.
Would you do a 24-hour stream to gain 1 million subs? Definitely. If I could gain 1 million subs, I'd do a 24-hour stream.
Just stream until you get 1 million.
Eventually. What? Eventually, I will do like a subathon or a 10-hour stream or a C. If you yell pickle, I'll give you $100.
Spectre, yell pickle.
Brayden.
Can I do it?
I'll need to see like a $5 first to know it's real, but then I would.
I'll do it.
If you do like a $5 dono, then I'll do it for the other 95. Because I don't know if that's real, Brayden.
Can I do it?
Sure, you can yell pickle. I really don't care.
Wait, I gotta say the 5.
Question: when when do we get a subathon? I want to do a subathon, but it's hard to do it on YouTube. But I could do it. I want to do a subathon, and I figured out how to do it. So yeah.
I was just listening to the stream whenever I said it. That was so loud.
The thing about doing a subathon is it might be hard. Like I could set one up for YouTube and Twitch, so it works with both donos. So I'll have to see. I just wanna come on. What's up, Ethan? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. What's up, Christy? How we doing? Welcome to the stream. I just see. Please stop spamming. I'm 1 sub away from video, by the way. W, Aiden. W. Pickle W globe animations. 8 people left, guys. How many teams? 3 teams left.
Brayden, you lied.
Who just broke my ears? Victor. That was Penn. I'm back after 1 hour. W, cats for life. W.
I'm not for $1. I'll do it again.
Absolute stupid. No, for $1, he'll do it again. Penn, are you streaming? Bro, they just asked if you're streaming.
I'm streaming on Twitch.
No, you're
and
not.
Facebook.
No, you're
I'm
Facebook.
streaming on Facebook.
Facebook Marketplace,
And
right?
MySpace.
Facebook Marketplace.
Yes, you can actually buy my stream. I actually pay you to watch my stream.
What's up, Jackson? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. I want to do a subathon, but that's just like too much to plan in this in the. That's just too much to plan. I mean,
speed 60
that's just like too much to stream, you know. Thank you for helping out, Famex. Just remember to give him, Famex. Remember, give him a warning before you spam. Give him a warning before you time him out. Absolutely stupid. Please do not spam, man. Give him a warning, and then if they keep doing it, then you time him out. W Riz, thank you very much, Maniac. I appreciate it.
Who are you rizzing?
I don't know, but he just said it. You watching the Saturday night football game?
Pork.
We'll see. Probably will. What's up, Grace? How we doing? Hope you're having a great day, Grace.
How
many credit cards do you have? Is that what you just asked?
What? I can't hear you. I'm getting mixed up. I got Train playing and you playing.
What's up, Dub? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. Pen, I'm gonna invite Aiden to our party after this game, just so you know, and he's gonna do the outro. His mic's a bit quiet, so we can't really talk a lot.
You just get here. Let me demonstrate how loud.
Oh shoot! It's a 3v2.
Should I just get out to be loud real quick?
You wanna get really close to your mic like this. And whenever you want to, you just go.
Stop. What's up, Chrissy? How we doing? I accidentally closed my laptop. Oh, Aiden, are you able to join a party? If not, you can join at a different time, man, if you want.
I'm just listening to myself scream.
Stop screaming, Pen. I'm new at Like and Sub. Welcome back to the stream, Duck Gaming. Hope you're having a great day, man. Oh, good snipe.
I found that really funny.
Good snipe. Best team in football versus the LA Chargers. I would say the best team in football is gonna win. I don't know though. I'll have to see. I need to gift Balkan, and who else do I need to gift? Who else won? Axel. I already got gifted Axel.
Wait, we won. Wait, we won. So I get some.
We did not win.
We won a game. We won a game.
Yeah, but I'm not gifting people who won. I'm gifting people who got bounties. I put on Xbox. Remember? Oh, I got you, Aiden. I got you.
You set a bounty on me, so I should get like 200.
No. I already gave you like 500 last week.
Yeah, because I won. I came second.
Yeah, but you didn't win here. Oh, last fight's going on.
Almost did.
Hey, thank you very much, Grace. 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 Those are the ones where you don't give a warning, you just instantly ban them. Thank you very much, Grace.
Wait, that girl Maggie, are you like the like
What's up, your favorite bestie? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Grace, thank you very much. Those are the ones that you just like instant ban. It's a 3v1, guys. Who's gonna win? I'm guessing it's gonna be the one. My name is Luke. I'm using my mom's account. Luke, welcome to the stream.
Can I get your mom's phone number?
I gotta go. No problem. I shall speed. Hope you have a great rest of your day, man. I'll see you next time. This team has 14 eliminations. They're pretty good. Where is the last guy?
Don't worry, guys. He's totally not in the cone.
Oh, Pan.
I'm kidding. He's not. He's camping behind a tree somewhere. I'm not telling you where, though. I'm not telling you where the tree is.
What's up, Julian? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. My mom's phone number is 911. Pen, it's 911. Just call it.
911. Hello, how many do you hear me? Oh, wait, Tank's got this. I forgot Tank's crazy at the game.
Is Tank the last? Tank's him. Tank, clutch up, Tank. Clutch up, Tank. Tank, clutch up. No. No, GG's. Props to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring Mr. For real.
Or NordVPN.
This video is. I'm just kidding. Raid Shadow Legends did not sponsor me.
This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Alright, guys. Let's go ahead and invite Parker. That was actually last custom. We're gonna go ahead and invite Aiden to the stream so we can do the outro. Guys, it was a W stream. I'm gonna let Aiden do the outro, and then everyone after this, right before we end stream, go to Twitch. Go to Twitch. Let's get as many people as we can. Unfortunately, we're not gonna do one more, guys. Hello, Aiden.
Gaming with Aiden, you actually get the
Yo,
the
I'm
honorary
here.
privilege.
What's up, Aiden?
You get the honorary privilege of having my friend request.
I'll accept the request, man.
Aiden, give me the best outro you can.
Brayden, send it again. Wait.
I'm just waiting for everybody. Alright, let's go. Alright, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the stream.
subscribe or follow if you're on Twitch. Actually, still subscribe if you're on Twitch.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes,
And,
sir.
Preach.
Have an amazing Christmas and an amazing day and whatever else.
That's what I'm talking about.
Spam W 100 hours. Everyone spam it.
Let's
Spam it in the chat. I
go.
want to see the chat only filled with that.
Donate a galaxy.
That's what I'm talking, guys. Everyone spam some W's and everyone head over to Twitch right as I end the YouTube stream. Head over to Twitch.
Make the party public so I can hopefully have a party.
spam it.
I'm making the party public. Join my party and head over to Twitch. Join the party, head over to Twitch. I'm making the party public. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. W's.
Yeah. W's.
W's,
in the
guys.
chat.
Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.
Nate 4 2 4 6 8 1.